Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Thanks for coming down again tonight for our latest live stream broadcast of the Manx Grand Prix races held on the world famous 37 3/4 mile mountain course. For those of you watching on the live stream, we're very fortunate here on the Isle of Man that we haven't had a COVID-19 case for over 100 days now. So although our borders are pretty much closed, we're able to gather here today and have a drink of beer and eat pie. This broadcast is incredibly unique because it's held indoors here at the Bungalow, incredibly iconic place on the mountain course. How is that possible, Sam? You may be saying. Well, here we go. Today we have 5 of the most powerful bikes produced by Honda. That's what it says here. The mighty C90s. And riding them aboard, we have some of the most successful Manx Grand Prix riders in its history. Mikey Evans, double Manx Grand Prix winner, junior and senior from 2017. Nathan Harrison, double junior and senior winner from 2019. Tony Duncan, double junior and lightweight winner from 1995. Ralph Sutcliffe, lightweight winner from 1986. And Carolyn Sells, ultra lightweight winner from 2009, and the only lady to have won a race around the mountain course. A round of applause, I think, is due for these guys. Five riders who between them have won 9 Manx Grand Prix races, including the newcomers race for Miggy. So now introducing the bravest man in the house, John Mcbride. He's got more balls than anyone else, as you can see. And with the aid of this high-tech lottery balls machine, John, please demonstrate. Give your balls a shake, John.
You have to jiggle them.
Okay, what number's that, John? So number 5. So number 5, who's that in the race? That's Tony? Number 5. So if white ball number 5 comes out, Tony goes forward a place. But a further factor is the weather conditions, which may change during the course of the race. So good conditions are white balls, bad conditions are black balls. So if you get a black ball, you move back a place. And if you end up moving all the way to the back, you've got to get off your bike and make adjustments. If you didn't understand any of that, well, don't worry, because I didn't either. It all should become clear once we get underway. But first, let's have some interviews with the riders. Watty, over to you.
Thanks, Sam. And good evening, all. I hope you can see me. I've put this nice colourful shirt on tonight, just in case you're watching in black and white. It's green, yellow, red, just about every colour under the sun. But no, it's good to be here tonight, and it brings back memories of this building when it was the Motorcycle Museum in the 80s. I think the last time I was in here was then. It's been empty quite a long time, but it's really revamped, and it's going to be the place, I think. Certainly in TT and Grand Prix Week, it's going to be a superb venue. So tonight, I'd like to welcome first, ladies first, and it's going to be Carol, and I've already warned her I'm going to give her a right grilling. So what number is it? I'm not sure it's quite right. Carolyn, well, you're still the only woman to have won a race on the mountain course. It must be quite an honour.
Yeah, it is, yeah. I'm quite pleased about that.
Remembering way back, I think Beryl Swift was it, the first rider in 1962, and she rode a 125 or a 50 actually item in the TT on the TT course. But relatively few women rode up until the 80s and 90s. Certainly not in the Manx Grand Prix. Well, there's obviously Sandra Barnett, but she never got onto the podium. And you know, Jenny Tinmouth, great rider that she was, again, never got onto the podium. Maria's done it in the Classic and done very well, but you're the only woman to have won an outright race. It is a fantastic achievement.
Thank you, yeah. I did do it, I did it 20 years as well to the day since the first woman raced at the Manx Grand Prix, actually, the win was. So.
I wasn't aware of that at the time. That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it was, oh gosh, don't ask me. Sorry, her name's just gone out of my head, she'll kill me.
Virginia? Was it Virginia? Somebody know?
No, it was Gloria. Sorry, Gloria Clark, as she was at the
Gloria
time.
Clark, yeah, you're right, yeah.
Perrin.
Mm-hmm. You first rode 2003 and your newcomers C on a Trick Bits Honda
Yeah.
in the 400 125 class of the newcomers. How did that race go?
It went really well, actually. I wanted to do, my aim was to do 100 mile an hour and get on the podium, and I did 99.98, and I came fourth. So, but that just, I was that close that I thought, right, you know, I knew I could do quite well, so I just got my head down and carried on.
But then you rode the lightweight proper a couple of days later, yes?
Yes, I did, yeah. I finished, initially I was given 22nd in that, because there was some sort of contest about somebody's fuel or something. But anyway, they got reinstated, and I ended up 23rd in that race.
And did you get the 100?
I did 101.
So you achieved your ambition that first year?
Yeah. It was a record-breaking year as well, because Stuart Sturrock came and he won the newcomers, and he blasted everybody, and then he went out and won the ultra lightweight as well, and got, I think, the lap record at the time. So, yeah. So
your little legs, you only got short legs. So the 400 sort of suited you, really. You were quite happy on that bike.
Yeah. It's nice and low to the ground, you know, and they're good to ride, but
you did ride a 600 too. How did you get on with the 600 by comparison?
I love the 600. I just can't reach the floor very well, so I did it for the first time in 2004, and I did just under 109 on that, and finished 8th on the 400. But yeah, the first pit stop that I came to do, when they leant in to do the fuel, I nearly fell off because I couldn't reach the floor very well. So ever since then, I've always had somebody hold the front of the bike. So
you rode 2-3 more years, and then the 2008 came when you won. Now that year you changed to a Yamaha, and I can't remember the sponsor's name now. I know we came from Onken.
Yeah, it's Damien. So Damien Morrissey.
Damien Morrissey, yeah.
Yeah.
So that day, did the Yamaha seem a lot better? Did it seem a lot quicker than the Honda?
Yeah, I love the Hondas, and they ride like they're on rails, but they just can't get the same power as the Yamaha. So that was why Damien and Martin came together and put together the Yamaha. I actually tested 3 different bikes early on that year, and this one was actually built by Darren Slew originally. Yeah. So and between him and Slick. So Slick was involved in this, and once we found a bike that I could get on with, we then spent the rest of the year developing it and fine-tuning it with the aim to win the Manx. So, yeah.
Something in the back of my mind, I seem to recall that you went on one tank. Is that right? You rode without a stop.
I did.
Now, Ross Thompson, and of course, Caroline.
The fuel through practice, and I was using about, on average, 5.25 litres a lap, and I had a 22-litre tank on. So we knew we could do it on that, and that was the aim. Yeah. Just to give me the time, really, you know.
But I think it caught a few out. I think it was a.
I don't think so.
Was it?
No, there was about 3 or 4 others in the race that did it. Yeah. It's not an uncommon thing to do. So I was just the only one that won it.
So after that win, that you didn't ride again. You rode the junior, but that was before that, a couple of days before, and that was on Martin's 600. On
number 13, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 13's was always been my lucky number. So yeah, I rode on it twice on the 600, and yeah, I love the 600. But there'd been some dodgy weather, and we'd actually put inters on, and then the sun came out and dried the track in the last half hour. So me and Roger did a quick change of the rear, but we didn't get to change the front. So I went out with an inter front on, and it was moving about a lot more than I wanted it to. So I didn't feel like I pushed as hard in that race as I could have done.
Then after that year, you decided that was it, really. You'd achieved your ambition. You won a Manx Grand Prix. You didn't really want to go on to the TT, and you called it a day, really.
In 2008, I crashed out of 3rd place after having done the pit stop on lap 1. And I was back up to 3rd by the Bungalow, and I crashed out. And if I'd have got on the podium then, I would have gone to the TT in 2009 and then packed up. I had it in my mind to finish at the end of 2009. And once I crashed out of 3rd, I thought, I can't get that close and not have another go. So I went back to the Manx the next year and got the win. But I had already decided that that was going to be my last year, so I didn't have a shot at the TT in the end.
No regrets, though?
No, no, I wish I'd done the Ulster. I wish I'd had a go at that. Yeah. You know, and I still miss riding fast on a bike. Yeah. You know, that's the thing that I miss the most, is tearing down Bray Hill and, you know, having fun for an hour and a half.
But you've still stayed involved, and of course Roger came along, and he wasn't a bad rider in his own right, really. He was quite good for an Irishman. But no, I remember trying to interview Roger one night at the ACU Stars night, because we let the border slip, and we let him win the ACU Centre Star, and I interviewed him, and I said, Roger, no swearing. I won't say what his answer was, but he swore. But the thing was, he's quite a broad Irishman, for those who don't know Roger. Great guy that he is. He's a great guy, but he's very hard to understand. So I interviewed him that night, and I didn't really have an idea what he was talking about. But anyway, good fun. So just to finish, I know there's a couple of little ones coming along, making their first steps in motocross the other week at West Kirkmick. But I heard on the day that they survived all right, and the mother had a bit of a mishap.
Yeah.
Can you just enlarge on that, please?
I think they call it whiskey throttle. I was only pushing the little, I don't even know, it's only like an 80cc or something. And it was one of Dew and Knight's bikes, and I was just pushing it, and woof, off it went. It's a little bit embarrassing, but you know, I'm used to it. I've done that.
What was that, Roger? Hit the dog. Was that three-legged dog I've seen walking around?
Luckily, I knew the girls, so I did apologise profusely. But yeah, I did look like a bit of a, I'll let you fill the blanks.
Luckily, I wasn't there to record it. So, Carolyn, it's great to talk to you. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye. So, next, we've got an old mate of mine, and he was 60 on Monday, so wants a quick round of happy birthday. It's for Ralph Sutcliffe. So Ralph, here you come. You can see he's gone to a lot of trouble to clean his leathers tonight. But these are his original ones. I think he rode pretty well towards the end of his career when he was riding for Colin Oldwood. And, Ralph and I go back a little bit, but had some good laughs over the years. But I thought it was your birthday this week, because I was told wrongly that you were going out tomorrow, or you're having a party tomorrow night. So I presumed that was your birthday, but it was last Monday, Dad says.
Yeah, last Monday we went camping at the weekend, so a few pints down the Solby, Ballaugh. So it was good time, yeah. I don't know whether you saw the picture I put in the paper on. There's you and your dad on the monitor there. That's quite a good one from '86. Is that the newcomers? That's the newcomers, is it? Yeah, that's the 350 race in '86, junior race.
And you were second to
Bud Jackson, yeah.
Bud Jackson, that's right. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
on John Smythe's bike. Who was my mate at the time? So,
yeah, John and Ralph were big mates, and they were a hard pair to control, really. So I just put it mildly. That's my picture of you going round. I was at the Gooseneck that day. Yeah, and I remember the day well, actually, Ralph. I think I was with Lundy at the Gooseneck, and I think he was putting the board out for you, and there was all sorts of obscenities on it.
I was putting a lot of bad things on there as well. Yeah.
I was going to say. You were one of the first. You're not the first father and son to win a Grand Prix, but you're certainly one of the only ones to win. And it must have been really quite an honour to do that. After your dad, it wasn't that long after Dad, really. It was only 16 years, which wasn't that long.
Yeah, I don't know of any other father and son that have actually won open races. If there is, I don't know who they are. I think the other father and son were newcomers and open race.
Yeah. Getting a bit crossed up, really, because I was thinking of Tony and David Jeffries. Of course, that was the TT, but the Manx.
Your father's passionate about this, and he reckons that's definitely the truth of the matter.
Well, I can't think of anyone else. If anybody can think of it, and somebody else, you're probably right. Yeah, you probably are the first, the only one. Yeah, and the fact it was so close together, really, because, you know, Dad was 32 when he won. What were you?
I was 25.
Yeah, so there wasn't, like I said, there's only 16 years between you. Now, when Selwyn won, Griffiths won in 64, I think it was, around about that time. Jason won, he won in newcomers, but he never won an outright.
That's right, yeah. That's right. And we both won for the same sponsor as well.
Yeah, well, actually, no, he rode for Bob Heath.
No, my father.
Oh, your father, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
So we both rode for Ray, which was really good.
Yeah. So you were actually on Armstrong that day.
Yeah, on these pictures that we're seeing here, there's a couple of pictures of me on a 350 TZ. Ray had actually missed the boat and he arrived late, so the bike didn't get here till Wednesday, I think it was, when I first rode it. So I rode a 350 with number 17 on in practice, and I ended up doing the fastest lap in practice on that bike. But nobody realised what was going on. Was
Jack Wood clerk of the course then?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Jack, how did you spot that?
I think he knew, he just let it go, I think.
So the Armstrong arrived race week, and basically you hadn't...
No, it arrived in practice week, but it came Tuesday night and we didn't go out until the Wednesday, so I went Monday and Tuesday on the 350 with 250 plates on it. And
of course, it was the time of the Armstrong engines, really, the Ehrlich engines, and they were the Rotaxes were the ones to have at that time on a 250.
That's right. The bike was a really good bike. Steve Tonkin rode it, won a TT on it. Neil Tuxworth rode it in TT, and I rode it. I'm not sure if Jason rode it as well, but I don't think he rode it in the TT. So yeah, it was a great bike.
After that, you moved up to the TT. You had quite a good career with the TT. You never got, I don't think you finished in the top 10, not in an open main race, but you certainly had some good rides. What would you record as your best?
I just had a lot of problems breaking down and what have you over the years, but I did the production 250, which at the time was one of the early ones in 83, and I finished 8th in that.
I've got the results here, actually. I thought that the other night. Phil Mellor won. Chris Farger, who didn't turn up tonight, so he's getting the black flag for that. Chris Farger was second. Matt Oxley third. He was always Graham Cannell's big oppo. Gary Paget fourth. Charlie Williams fifth. John Whedon sixth. Ian Locker seventh, and Ralph eighth. Some quality there. Yeah,
there was a good school then, and the bikes were all pretty new, so no one knew what the best bike was to be on, really. You just lucky what you got and see how you got on with it. So it was good, yeah.
In later years, you had a good relationship with Colin Aldridge, who was a great sponsor to you and always a good man and a good character as well. You must have enjoyed your time with Colin.
Yeah, Colin was like a breath of fresh air, really. The bike wasn't as good as it could have been because it was an older bike, but Colin's heart and soul went into the bike, and he took me sort of around the world. It was brilliant, really. We did some good stuff together. You know, he was just a bundle of fun to be with. You know, he was a good guy. Yeah.
You were among the first, well, certainly locals, I think, after Danny Sherman, to go to Macau.
Yeah, that's right. Colin decided that he wanted to take us to Macau, and I was really looking forward to it. So Colin said, right, we'll do it, and he bought new fairing and seat, and that's his new bike for Macau. And I asked him, could I paint the bike to make it nice for Macau, and he says, yeah, any colour red you want. So that's what we did. We painted it red, and off we went.
And that was a ZXR 750, was it?
It was a GPX top bottom half with a ZX 750 top half. Yeah. So it was a Harris frame, so the frame and that was okay, like, you know. But it was just a little bit brittle. It was prone for cracks and breaks, like, you know. So.
And you mentioned Smythe. I know that Smythe rode India. Did you ride the Indian Grand Prix?
Yeah, we were racing Celtic Max races in Mondello. And the last race of the day was the British Championship Formula 2 race. And I had a dice with a guy called Richard Pearce-Jones. And I actually passed him on the last corner to finish. I think I was third and I think he was fourth. Anyway, we went in the bar afterwards and we got talking. And anyway, it turned out that he organised the Indian Grand Prix. So we went to Dublin to get the boat home. And he was on the same boat, and we had a few beers, and we managed to get ourselves invited to India. So it was worth a few pints anyway.
I remember John Smythe telling me that some of the facilities were a bit basic there. I mean, the hospital or the medical centre was a tent, and it was all a bit. How was your father, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a bit dire, really.
Phil Neen had a bit of a bad crash and broke his arm, and we all went to hospital to see him, and it was awful. It was the worst place I've ever been to. And Phil was lying there, like feeling a bit second-hand, and I said to him, I think you're in the right place, Phil, and he goes, I'm not too sure about that.
But Ralph, you've had some great times in racing, and I know you've not been involved in recent years, but you certainly, when you were riding, you had some great times and great fun. You were always, with you and John and a few others, it was never a dull moment.
No, it was really good. It was all about having a laugh, and obviously racing was the big thing. That's what we were all about. Back to what you said about Colin, and what was the best I got out of that, and that was really riding in Macau and Indonesia. We raced there. It was an event they put on before they had the first World Superbike there, and we were like a bit of a guinea pig to see how the track performed, and that was unbelievable with all the top riders there and mixing it with all them guys. It was really good. Yeah.
Thanks, Ralph. Great memories, and it's good that you've you're able to regale those to us. Thank you. Yes, he's pointing out there that 57 was a number that Roger rode to victory 50 years ago yesterday in the senior Manx. So that's number 57. Next up, bit of a young fella by comparison, and one of our top stars, top riders at the moment, Mikey Evans. Right, Mikey, not much racing this year, but you have mopped up at Derby. 8 wins last weekend.
Yeah, it was. It's good to get some racing in. Obviously, for Derby, it's all racing, but obviously it'd be nice to get to the UK at some point and get going over there, really.
You've got a good relationship at the moment with Graham, with sorry, I've forgotten his surname. Wilcott.
Yeah.
Graham Wilcott, yeah. So he has been a good sponsor to you over the last couple of years, but unfortunately last year's TT, he had an injury going into it. You come off in the pre-TT. Yeah,
just a minor, small mishap, but ended up breaking my collarbone, which ended the TT, which was pretty gutting for me, but yeah.
And that basically put you out for the season, really, didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't do anything until the Southern. The first practice at the Southern was the first time back on the bike, so that was a pretty tough week. And then I broke my collarbone again 2 weeks after that. So then I just thought, don't.
He doesn't tell you how he broke his collarbone the second time, though.
It was on the motocross bike, but yeah, it's got to be done. There's nothing better than riding a bike.
Yeah, it does happen. Mikey, you won the non-expert championship at Derby. I remember you coming through and riding very well up there, and I think you went just about the whole season without being beaten up there. Was that 2:15?
14, I think. 14 or 15, I can't remember.
I remember you, towards the end of the year, you borrowed a Triumph off Frankie or somebody did to finish off.
Yeah, I crashed in the last, I think it was the last race of the day. Well, not the last race of the day, last centre race through the finish line at Derby and wrecked my bike, so managed to borrow a bike off a good friend Frankie, and just came second, so, but yeah.
Other than that, you had a clean sweep. But so then you rode the Manx the following year, and you won the newcomers, the main race, on a 600 Suzuki from Julian Trummer. and you averaged over 115. So you must have been pretty chuffed for that in the newcomers.
Yeah, it was probably, I don't know, it's probably not the right thing to say, but it's probably the best win I've had at the Manx, really. It was a really good 2 weeks, good fun.
That's amazing to say that. You won the newcomers, and you think that was your best win, because the following year, you came and won the senior and junior double.
Yeah, I mean, it was far from a bad week the year after. It was a really good week, but it was the first year was obviously you just kind of turn up with your bike, and my bike was 2007, so it was fairly old by that time, and it was just me and my dad with the van and just like practice and stuff and just working on the bikes, and then not really expecting a great deal, and end up winning it. Whereas the year after was a bit more pressure from myself, but it was still great. It wasn't bad at all. But I think the first year just not expecting anything, not even hoping for anything, just kind of turning up with my bike that I've had for a number of years and kind of having fun on it and winning as well was great, really.
So the junior race that week, the junior 2017, you beat Darren Cooper and Jamie Williams, who's in the room here tonight. Jamie was third. Did you then feel confident for the senior going into the senior on the same bike, wasn't it? I was a 750 for the senior.
Yeah. I was more confident for the senior than I was for the junior, because I'd only done 6 laps on the 600, but a few of the lads got moved up on the starting grid, but I was still left at 17, so I got a bit angry. So I thought, right, well, if you start me at 17, then I'll show you what I can do. So there's a bit of it, but I was more kind of confident for the senior, because I'd done more laps on that than I had on the 600. So.
And that was Martin Bullock's 750 Suzuki.
Yeah, for the senior.
Yeah. The 750 that had a bit of success, that bike around here, didn't it?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 people won on that bike, but I could be wrong there. But I'm pretty sure that's right. Certainly, Martin did a lot of supported a lot of people in racing. Carolyn, before was mentioned, she was sponsored by Martin Bullock. He put a lot into the Manx and the TT for probably 25 years, and he had a lot of winners and a lot of success. He's walked away now. He's got other interests back to his athletics days, but he did put a lot into it.
Yeah, obviously way before I was even way before I was born, he was putting a lot into the racing, and what he done for me was amazing. I couldn't have asked for any more off him. He was, as a sponsor, you can't really ask for much more, and he's helped me and loads of other people kind of achieve what they wanted to set out to do, really.
So then you went straight into the TT, and what was your fastest lap in that year's Manx before you went to the TT?
122.8, I think it was, in the senior.
So that's quite similar to what Nathan did last year. But TT, was it a big shock to the system, or did you feel that the first year you felt okay with the pace?
Yeah, for the 600 and stuff, it was kind of, you kind of, you think you're going quite fast, but then you see your times compared to other people, and you're kind of like, how is that possible? But then on the big bikes, it's not even it's kind of it's a completely different thing. It's not even there's such a difference in speed. You have to ride them differently, and that's a really, it takes a long time to learn, which I'm still learning. But had a good 600 race, but the big bike was a bit of a handful. But it's.
Yeah, I recall you had problems with the handling on the BMW 1000, but the 600 you got to grips with, and you did. What was your fast? In fact, you went faster on the 600 than you did on the 1000, didn't you? Yeah,
I'd done 123.6 on the 600, so that was I was pretty in the second Supersport race, which I was pretty happy with that, considering the week that had been before and the race week. It was kind of for the first high I'd had in 2 weeks, so that was quite good.
You must feel. I feel a bit sorry for you, because you're at your peak of your career. Well, you're at the right age at the right time, and you got the right bike. But last year you had the trouble with the crash before, and this year the COVID. The fact that you're racing at Derby, but it's not quite the same as the mountain course. So really, 2 of you, what should have been probably 2 of your top years as a young up and coming rider, are gone.
Yeah, it's it's a bit tough to kind of think about. Really, I was beyond gutted when TT was cancelled, because last year that happened, and I thought, right, this year's definitely going to be my year. You know, I'm going to do everything to make sure it is, and then something out of your control kind of takes it away, and it's like, well, you know, there's not really much else. You know, there's not much to do. But yeah, it's annoying, because these are the years where I feel like I need to learn. So then I get to a point where I can kind of do well, but I'm still trying to learn, but I don't have the opportunity to even learn, which is quite annoying.
Well, you're a level-headed guy, Mikey, and I know you'll come back. The one advantage is that everyone's in the same boat. You know, you're at least living on the island, and you can ride around the course if you wish on a motorbike or a car or a bicycle. You can do it, but you know, I'm sure you'll come back next year, hopefully with the TT, and have a good one. Thank you, Mikey.
Cheers. Thank you.
Get me notes in the right order here. Just hold that well for you. Oh, Tony. Right then. Tony Duncan. Better known these days, really. Tony's better known these days as the Chief Travelling Marshal, and we've got two other former Chief Travelling Marshals in the room tonight. Des Evans down there, and the Honourable Mr. Killip at the back, MBE. And I'm sure, Tony, you will agree that being a Chief Travelling Marshal does carry a certain honour as well.
And headaches. Lots of headaches, but yeah, no, it's a great honour, to be honest, John. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So you'll be packing in a couple of years then, 65 compulsory?
Yes, John. Yeah, next.
Well, Tony, you had a great career in the Manx. You know, you won a double, but you actually led every lap. You broke the lap records. You had astonishing rides, and you were riding for Ray. Oh no, they weren't Ray's bikes, not then. Year before. Yeah. But you had a good connection with Ray as well.
Ray Cowles.
But Ray Cowles. When it came to the actual the year you won 95, you won Ricky Mitchell in the junior. I mean, Ricky Mitchell was a star, a real star. He sort of went off the scene fairly quickly, but he came in like a hurricane, and he was going to be the next Joey. Really, he was the up and coming rider, and you beat him in the junior by 12 seconds. Keith Townsend, no slouch at all again, and he was third. Mike Casey fourth. So that was a good quality top four there, and you must have ridden the wheels off that bike.
Yeah, it was a fluke. 94, I came second in the junior behind Brian Venables and second behind Decker Kelly. So seeing they were Manx, I let them off. And then, but I did decide next year. I was just about to go to the TT, to be honest. I thought I'm never going to get a chance to get on the podium or get second again. So I thought I'll go to the TT, and my dad talked me out of it. So I came back for the Manx the year after for 95, and I just didn't have the machinery, to be honest. So I rode my own bike, started practice, it broke down, and I hired a bike from Ireland. Made a few phone calls. Ernie Coates knew a man, and then next minute on the Tuesday night, the boat came in from Ireland, and bike was wheeled off the boat, picked up in a van, brought up to practice, jumped on it, and that was my first lap on the bike, which I hired from Ireland, because I just didn't have competitive machinery, and I knew I could sort of have a chance. So, and then obviously, with riding for Ray Cowles before, you know, that was a great honour, and but I just wanted to see what I could do, and I thought I might have a chance, and yeah, it's everything just played well for me, to be honest. But that year was a really difficult year, because I remember watching the newcomers at the Gooseneck, and that year you had, as you said, Ricky Mitchell, you had Adrian Archibald, Adrian McFarland, Paul Deadman, Chris Heath, they were all newcomers that year, so I was watching them go around the gooseneck thinking, oh my God, there's no chance these boys are going to crucify me on Wednesday. That was in the newcomers, they were doing 112s then, so I was like, my head was gone watching the races then, but all I could do was do my best, so I just had to put the laps together, and it just worked out really well for me, to be honest, and it just kept my head down. I knew I was on a good bike. The lad that came over with the bike was putting all new parts in, which made a great difference. I was always trying to recycle parts of my own bike and stuff, and they were always breaking down, 2 strokes, nightmare. But it was just a great bike to ride. John Creef rode it in Ireland. It was a great bike, and it only let me down. The first practice night, the fuel pump went, and then after that, it was perfect. And it was just a great time. Everything went right for me, and fortunately, I won it. Yeah.
It was down as an MSR Yamaha. MSR?
Yeah, it was a chap called Robert McLaughlin from Ireland. Never met him before. As I said, a chap called Keith came across, and he's a lifelong friend now because he did everything. He got up 6 o'clock in the morning to do the bike, strip the bike and everything. Keith Wallace, great mechanic. He was working on the European 250s. He came across, worked on the bike. All I had to do was clean it and run round, grabbing bits and bobs. But a lifelong friend from then on, really. And yeah, Robert hired me the bike for not a lot of money, really. It's what I could afford, but he put trust in me. He came across to watch. He was a big sponsor of James Courtney and a lot of other riders. He put a lot of money into it, and it was just, yeah, he came across, and again, a lifelong friend.
So in the lightweight, you won that from Chris Cannell, another local, and on the same bike.
Yep.
And he won that by a full minute, actually. I think Chris is out in Australia living now, isn't he?
He is. He's living in Perth, where my sister lives. It's not far down the road from my sister in Perth. So yeah, he was second place. He was riding Martin Bullock's bike at the time. So yeah. That's the bike I was down to ride at the start of the year, but things didn't pan out. I was originally started riding for Martin, but it's just a bit of a change direction on that one. So.
And again, Russ Henley was third. I think he was on Martin's bike as well, was he?
He was, yeah. Yeah, Russ was on one of Martin's bikes as well, so the two of them are out to get me.
So you led that from start to finish as well. Record-breaking pace again.
Yeah. It was again. The bike was mint. I knew the guys would be there and thereabouts, but I could see them gradually catching them on the second lap. And then I just got behind them at Graham's Memorial, and then just followed them for a bit, and then just took them up Halewoods, and then just got in before the pit stop. But yeah, it worked out well again. But I must admit, it's the junior was a tough race, and obviously teammate Duncan Muir, he got killed on the first lap. He was riding for Andreas Racing, which was the team I was riding for, and he got killed on the first lap. Then a chap I was dicing with in the junior again, what's his name? Ian Kirk, sorry. Ian Kirk, we were dicing on the road for 2 laps coming into Bedstead, and he was right up me tail, and he came off at Bedstead and got paralysed. And then chap in the lightweight, Nick Teal, got killed in the lightweight race. So again, it's not the TT, but the Manx Grand Prix shouldn't be dumbed down. It's just as dangerous, and you don't forget those guys that are out there. Everyone's out to do their best, and I was just lucky enough to win it. But there's those guys that would like to be where we are today, and they risk everything. There's no money for it, but the Manx Grand Prix it's just a great event. But we shouldn't forget those that aren't here with us now.
Nice one, Tony. Yeah. On a lighter note,
sorry,
I do recall the night before the lightweight, was it 93? You had a bit of a mishap.
Did I? Did I?
It was something to do with Derby Airfield.
Yeah, okay. No, I did. Thanks for that, John. It was so good to me. No, it's 93. It was the junior race, and I was doing quite well in the junior. And the bike seized, unfortunately. So I was getting everything ready for the lightweight race, and I just ran out of time, and eventually got the bike built up. Then the tank started to develop a leak in the fuel tank, and it started dripping, so we got that welded up and everything, so I decided to go up to the airfield. And,
Does anybody know what's coming here?
Yeah. So it just ran out of time, and I was just tired and had nothing to eat, and I was just so desperate to get out for the Friday lightweight race, because I knew I could do well in it. I knew I had a sort of chance in 93. And then I just didn't realise how short the airfield was. And I just had a bit of an accident at the end where I just sort of ran out of brakes and talent and everything, and I just landed in a heap. So that was it, and I didn't make the lightweight race. But you can't help me for trying. I was just desperate to get out there. So it was just, it's one of those, isn't it?
I remember Jeff Cannell or somebody relaying the story the next morning on the commentary. And Tony, he'd been up, the light was fading, wasn't it? And you, like you say, desperate to get the bike sorted. And he came down, and where the extension runway is, and I think Light Ladders built the aluminium fencing. It was really low, wasn't it? Very low fencing. And of course, you hit that full on, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. It was just. I was just tired, as I said, and I was just so desperate to get out on there on the Friday, and it was just didn't pan out for me. But I came back. It made me stronger.
Just to finish on that, though, I've got to ask you this, just to finish. I know it's painful.
God.
But did you clear the road and then land on the other side of the runway?
Yes.
I've always wanted to ask him that.
Yes, I did. Evil Knievel would have been proud, yeah. Yeah.
Well done, Tony.
Thanks, Mike.
So then you're into the TT. It gets better now, because 96, 18th in the junior, won by Joey from Jim Moody and Jason Griffiths. You were just a couple of places behind John McGuinness in his first race.
Yeah, so funnily enough, I met John and Paul Bird. He came up to Derby Road Circuit just before the TT that year and introduced themselves, and I was like, hello, because obviously he knew who John McGuinness was even then, 96, because of the short circuits he was doing. So him and Birdie came up and said hello, and I won Derby Road Circuit, and they were saying I was mad for riding around there, and I was like, right, okay, after we know what John's done. But yeah, it was... he was a couple of places ahead of me, but it was only slow speed. The bike wasn't going right on the day, so it was just I went a lot slower than I did in the Manx, to be honest, that day. I got a new job in the fire service that year and didn't do any race and went straight to the TT. Bike wasn't going well, and to be honest, my head wasn't in it at all. I was just thinking about my job at the time because I was still training. So I just didn't do too well in that 96 TT, to be honest. So I should have beat McGuinness, really.
That's what he said. But 97 then, just to finish off really, you rode a 125. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, I rode a base bog standard 125 Yamaha, which isn't the bike to have. It was just straight out off Roger's shelf, and it felt all right at Derby Airfield riding around a couple laps like that, but doing 3 laps around the TT course, and I'm not the tallest, but oh my god, it was the worst bike I've ever rode. I was so uncomfortable, and the thing was a dog, and just came into Greeba Bridge, and it nipped up and came around, just freewheeled around Greeba Bridge, let the clutch out, and then it finished the race, and I was just glad to get 100 mile an hour, but it was just, I was a bit peeved because Russ Henley came past me and he gave me the fingers as he went past me. But I couldn't do anything about it. Yamaha's not the 125 to have, to be honest, especially with a bog standard one, but it was a lesson that I learned well, not to ride a 125 ever again.
But you did get a top 12. You got a top 12 in a junior, and that was again won by Joey from Locker and McGuinness third. So you were one place in front of Owen McNally.
Yeah, I was. It was okay. It was going a little bit better that day. Still wasn't really. I should have gone faster, but I got a silver replica. And to be honest, it's about your personal goals, isn't it? All I wanted to do originally was ride a TT course as a kid, living over here, doing your paper round, flying around on your bike, papers and the bag going between your spokes and going over the top and crashing, pretending to be a TT racer. Done that. And just wanted to ride down the TT course, and then I didn't have the machinery, just paid for most of it myself, so I rode production bikes, but I got a little bit faster. I thought I could do well in the Manx. Done that, and then the goal was to do the TT, got to be bronze and silver replicas, and then it just came to a point again, the job was quite important to me at the time, and it was, what do I do? Do I carry on for years and years, maybe get a top 10, or am I happy enough with what I'd done? So, and I was really. I was happy enough with what I'd done, and that was my personal goals and boxes ticked.
So then you carried on, and you soon after became a travelling marshal. I don't know how many years after, but 3 or 4 was it?
2000, went around seeing Desi, and Desi invited us onto the team, Desi Evans, and it was 2000, I was a reserve. In 2000, 2001, obviously foot and mouth, and then 2002 was a full-time marshal from then on.
Yeah, well, I suppose it sort of fits in a way. Chris Fargo was similar, but he is a fireman. Well, he was a retained fireman. But it certainly helps to have that sort of background, and it's not an easy job, as many people think. It's often been said that travelling marshal's life is a jolly. It's no way there's a jolly.
No, it's not. On a good day, it's nice to have a run round, but I don't need to say it really. The people here are in the know, and it's not the be all and end all. And it's when we get sent out in the rain when it's coming sideways just to check the road surfaces. It's not ideal on the mountain, and some of the stuff we go to isn't ideal. But we try our best. We do the best for the riders. Try and put something into the sport again. I've got a great team of travelling marshals at the moment. A fantastic team, and I'm hoping to keep that team for a long time now, because all the boys are really, really good at what they do. But you do get a lot out of it, and it's good to put something back into the sport.
Absolutely. You've certainly done that. Anyway, we'll see how good the travelling marshals are later on these. That'll be interesting. Tony, thank you very much. So we're down to 1, and it's the most recent winner of all, Nathan Harrison. Let's come best way of it, Nathan. That's it. Do we need to be over this end a bit more? We've got to be next to the number, you see.
Right, there we go.
So 6 is the right number. 6 is the right number. There we go. Now I'm just in. That's it. It's very hard because it goes the other way. Nathan, a year ago today. It was Friday, wasn't it? Because you do wonder whether it's a Friday or a Saturday, but it was a Friday, wasn't it?
It was a Thursday.
It was a Thursday!
Yeah.
Not like when I was a kid. It was Tuesday and Thursday. You got on with it. But no, you must have been a very... Well, I know you made your family very proud, but that week, to win the junior, and then a couple of days later to win the senior as well, it must have been an absolutely amazing feeling.
Yeah, it was. Like you say, all my family and everything, they all put everything they can. My mum, my dad, my brother. And I've got obviously Chris Preston, he's been a long-term sponsor of mine. We had a load of problems with the Suzukis in the end. They kept on blowing up at left, right and centre, and then we come together with like Alan and Andy Jackson, who have got a good history around the Manx Grand Prix as well, and we come together and got a Honda, and the amount of effort that they put in to get there in such a short space of time, because I only managed to get them like about 2 weeks before the Southern, and then to go and do that like a month later and put a smile on everyone's faces was like the main aim of the game, really. And like you say, that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about enjoying it and having fun and making sure everyone's happy.
You'd come in the year before as a newcomer, and I think you broke down in the race, didn't you, in the newcomers race? But in the senior, you got the Lord Wakefield Trophy, which was for the best local performance. What was your fastest lap in that race?
It was 117.8, which I was happy with that, considering I had like 6 laps of practice because of the weather. And then I got like a lap and a quarter of the newcomers race, and it blew its guts out then. And like you say, I was going into the senior. I just thought if I go into the senior that year, try and get 4 laps of practice more than anything, because I didn't expect to really do anything. And like you say, I was more than made up to come away with 117.8 in that race.
I would have to say this. I was glad you did 117.8, because that morning your brother was on the radio interviewed by Kinners or somebody on the start line, and he says, I think Nathan's on for 120 today. And I thought, don't say that in front of him, because you're putting pressure on the guy.
Yeah.
But you rode a good race. What did you finish?
13th, I think it was 13th. But yeah, it was always been like a joke with me and Glenn, like who's like the fastest and all that. And I think, like you say, Glenn's another person. Every time I was going out with in the winter and stuff. He'd show me some things, and like you say, it was a proper team effort in that one.
Well, you certainly had plenty of help because your father was a racer and a travelling marshal as well, of course. So, you had plenty of help for that, and you heeded that advice. You rode very sensibly. We did well. So, come the senior, well, last year, the junior, you had a bit of another rider who was really on your heels, wasn't he? Who we thought was possibly started as favourite.
Yeah, I wasn't bothered by that really. They were all talking about him and saying he's going to win. It's all the pressure off my shoulders. It wasn't up to me to do the job. I was just going out to do what I always do and enjoy myself. And like my dad always says, he says if you enjoy yourself, it'll come to you. And that's what I did. And then within a lap, I was leading, and he had retired. And like you say, I just made the most of it. But then I didn't make things easy for myself. Then in the pit stop, getting a 30-second penalty. Then I had that to do it, because it was only a 3-lap race. I had to claw that back in 1 lap, but it makes it all interesting. It makes the win that bit better.
Yeah, and the other rider we're mentioning is Jim Heint. Now the reason he was tipped because he not only had he gone well in practice, but he'd done well in the classic TT. So he had an extra ride early in the week, and he finished on the podium and that behind Bruce. And I can't think he was second to Bruce, but he was third, and he had a cracking ride, and everyone was rating him. And we sort of knew that he would go well, and so he was an obvious threat. And there's no doubt he's a very good rider. In fact, I saw him last week on the Oliver's Mount coverage, and he rode well there too. So he again was there for the senior.
Yeah, I knew also in the senior that Stephen Parsons was going to be somewhere near. He was fast all the way through practice, and then I think in the junior he was getting held up. So I knew he was going to be somewhere near. So I knew it was going to be a close race. But in the senior, I was happy with what I'd done. I'd done 120 mile an hour, and I won a race I wanted to win. And in the senior, I just was going to go out and enjoy myself. And I think Jim Heint broke down in the first lap again, and then it was Steve Parsons that was leading all the way in the senior until the pit stop, and I see him like P2 plus 8 after my pit stop, and I felt like a new person after I had a drink and everything, and I thought I might as well give it a good go and try and get a good lap speed in, and that's what I did.
So you went for it in the second half of the race then, and that's when you really did a quick lap, and it turned the race around. Yeah,
that's it. I seen the board, and I thought if there's only 8 seconds in it, I could try and claw that back in, and going into the last lap I had like a 6-second lead, and then just enjoyed myself for that lap. And there's like little sectors coming up on my dash saying like -5 seconds on my best lap time, so I knew I was on for a good lap, and then I just tried to keep that up all the way till the end of the lap, and it come out good.
Are there any parts of the course which you find suit your kind of riding? You're a mountain man, or do you like the twisty bits?
I like the fast sections really. My riding style, the way I ride my bike, I don't like hang off, or I'm more bolted in the centre of the bike, and I enjoy from the Grandstand to Glen Helen, and then from Ramsey over to about Hilbury. It's nice, fast and flowing, and it suits the way I ride, like in the bike because of my leg and stuff like that. So the way I sit on the bike, them 2 sections are like my favourite for that reason.
This year's a write-off. I mean, I won't go into that too deeply, but next year, your plans really obviously would surround the TT, I'm sure. What sort of things you got lined up for the TT?
Well, I've got a few different bikes. I've got my 2600 Hondas. I've got a 1000 Honda coming at the minute. It's just getting built at the minute. That's getting organised through Alan Jackson, and I've got a couple of good sponsors again coming on board to help me get to that. And then at the minute, that's it at the minute. Obviously, if there's something closer to the time, maybe for a lightweight ride or something like that, we'll see what we can do. But ideally, when I try and get a good result on my 600 and then learn the TT course on the 1000, it's going to be a bit of a different animal altogether.
Yeah, similar to Mikey here. I mentioned earlier the fact that he's at the peak of his sort of career, and still in the early stages really, but certainly learning. He wants to learn it, and it's been a frustrating 2 years, and this is just frustration for you. I mean, it has to be said, there has to be some sort of doubt over next year's TT even now. We all know it could happen. It's happened once and it could happen again, so we hope not. But that is a possibility, a distinct possibility, if the situation doesn't improve in the UK.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was only saying that to my dad yesterday because if the borders were going to change down to 7 days reasonably, I was going to go away and maybe do a couple of BSBs like at the end of September. But it's still a bit of a grey area. Like if you test positive, you're still 2 weeks out of work, so it's not viable for me or my family. So, but I was saying with the infection rate and everything, I don't think, like, at the minute it still does look very unlikely, doesn't it? Like, not being negative, but in the great scheme of things, everybody's riding and all that kind of thing, and getting up to speed and signatures, it might be difficult, but hopefully maybe they might be able to put something on in the middle of the year and try and cram everything in. I'm sure everybody else will be up for that as well.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Mikey before on the table, and what astonishes me is that this week we're seeing the start of the Tour de France, which goes right around France, and there's people out watching it. The riders are all riding without masks. They're putting masks on for interviews afterwards and that and before, but they're coping with it. I think the issue here is that we're an island, and I think there would be, politically, it would be difficult if we were to run it, and there'd still be the issues in the UK and elsewhere. And then the virus got back in, the TT and the Grand Prix would take a real slating. And it wouldn't be the event's fault. It wouldn't be their fault, but it would be a difficult one to manage, and that has to be in everyone's minds.
Yeah, definitely. Like the 700 Manx, the TT, they could all run the same as like the BSB's running at the minute, where they've only got the teams in and what have you. But then the atmosphere of the TT and the Manx Grand Prix and 700, it relies on its fans, doesn't it? And I think it'll be a bit of a difficult one to police. And then, like you say, there's people in the Isle of Man that are a bit anti-bikes, and then if the island went into a bit of turmoil because of it, there wouldn't be very happy people.
Again, you can see he's 22 years of age. Like Mikey, he's a young man with a very sensible head on his shoulders, a great talent. He's certainly one of the stars, and Mikey is, of the TT in the future from the Isle of Man. And we wish you very well, Nathan, with that.
Thank you very much.
So now I hand over to Jim Hunter, speaking of travelling marshals.
Thanks, John. Good evening, everybody. Thank you to John for those superb interviews. It was really interesting to hear what everybody had to say. We're starting to turn our attentions now to the main event of the evening, which is this race put on by Manx Grand Prix TV Live. I guess really the person that should be doing this job is Roy Moore. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it tonight. Susie Perry couldn't make it. So it's ended up with me. I'm doing the job, and it's my first pleasure is the opportunity to introduce somebody who has done pretty much everything from a riding point of view. He was also a travelling marshal, and he was, of course, an outstanding clerk of the course. So could you please welcome Mr. Jack Wood.
In amongst the stars. Good evening, everybody. It is my great privilege to introduce the start of the Manx Grand Prix. This year, I think it is. This year. This is the script I've got. I am your clerk of the course for what promises to be a close and exciting race. However, I must warn you of conditions around the course, and the latest weather report from Ronald's Way Met Office. Although it is dry and sunny at the start, we have received reports around the course of wet or damp roads, particularly at Crosby, Glen Helen, Kirkmichael, Sulby, Ramsey, the Mountain Mile, the Bungalow, and Craignabar. In fact, most of the way around the course. However, the outlook is even worse. In addition, you may encounter mist, fog, driving drizzle on the mountain. And you all know, of course, if you're riding in the fog, you have to go down to walking pace. If you try and ride quickly, you won't get back. So when you get into a bank of fog, down as if you're riding into work, and then get going when you come out, but don't forget the wet surfaces. In addition, you may encounter, I've said this before, driving drizzle on the mountain. Visibility may be down to 100 yards. That is, Kipper informs me, you see it somewhere, I don't understand, 50 yards to his left and 50 yards to his right. So he didn't say visibility is 50 yards, he said it's 100 yards. You have to think about that one, don't you? Earlier today, a woman rang me and said that she'd heard a hurricane was on its way. Well, there isn't. It's not here. As usual, you must exercise all your skills and caution, especially in these conditions. I wish you good luck, have a safe and sensible ride. Thank you.
Well, that was really wonderful to hear Jack's voice. It took me right back to lined up on the Glencrushery Road back in the 1980s. So thank you for that, Jack. It's also really nice to see his deputy here, Les Doherty. We've got Lizzie Kinvig at the back as well, so we're well supported with control staff. Now it's coming to the moment where we're thinking about starting the race. It's going to be an absolute corker. There's all to play for. It's the only race of Manx Grand Prix 2020. And there is a very special, one-off, unique, only one in the world replica to go with this engraved. So there's all to play for. It's going to be a very difficult one to call. We've got our starter here, our official starter, Mr. Kevin Brooks. And is everybody set?
I think everybody's set.
Are we ready to go? Gentlemen and ladies, start your engines. It's unusual to have a mass start, of course, but hasn't happened since. And we're off. The flag is dropped. John has started up the ball machine. We're waiting with bated breath to see what's going to happen.
Number 5.
The first ball out is number 5. So that's a bit of a flying start from Tony Duncan. Tony takes an early lead. And next up it's going to be number 5 again. Tony's on an absolute flyer here. So we're he's taking the plunge down Bray Hill. And next out it's going to be
57.
Number 57. So 1986 lightweight winner Ralph Sutcliffe moves into second place. Not on the Ray Cowles bike today. And it's going to be next
57 again.
57 again. Okay, so looks like Ralph's got a bit of a problem with his front tyre there. There's a bit more air in it. So we're hoping
57 again.
57. So that's the lead to Sutcliffe. Duncan drops to second.
They're jiggling.
Jiggly balls, John.
I'm trying. Oh, 13.
13, oh. Carolyn Sells is off. So we're just waiting for Mikey and Nathan now to get a start.
Number 5 again.
Number 5, Duncan's up. Draws up level with Sutcliffe. And of course...
Number 5 again.
Number 5 again.
That's as far as you go.
I think that's a specially weighted ball, number 5. And it looks like Julian Bowers' hairdryer is doing overtime over there.
They're dancing.
They're dancing.
They're still dancing.
It looks on the course.
And they're still jiggling.
Whereabouts are we now on the course? Balagary. Okay. So we're through Balagary. The weather still looks good. Nice blue sky. $57. I think 57, Ralph. Oh, he can't go any. Oh, that's all right. That's as far forward as he can go. We're still waiting for the other 3 riders to get started. I'm assuming that there is a number 13. Number 5. I'm assuming that there is a number 6 and number 17 in there somewhere.
Number 13.
Number 13. Hooray! Okay.
This might take some time. I think some of the balls must be heavier than others. Careful. Very hypnotic, this.
It's 24-hour race. It's suddenly got dark.
What's happened now?
Yeah.
Number 6.
Hey! Okay, so that's the start for Harrison. And okay, so
hang on. Rain.
It looks like the rain flag has come out. These riders are going to have to be very careful here because none of them, by the looks of it, have got the wet weather tyres on. They're all running rib tyres. There was a lot of discussion before the start of the race about whether they should go hard, medium or soft. These guys are all running very hard tyres, good for 70,000 miles. Ribbed tyres.
Black ball number 6.
Black ball number 6. Oh dear. Nathan's been blackballed and he's back to the start. Level with Mikey.
Black ball 17.
Black ball. Oh dear. That's it. Mikey's heading backwards towards the Les Graham Memorial. Yeah.
Black ball 13. No, white ball 13. No!
Yeah, that means you go forward. Yeah. So. No, it really is definitely raining.
Black ball 13.
Oh dear, Carolyn's gone back. Obviously not enjoying the wet weather. The boys have got to be very careful now because black ball number 6. Oh dear. This could be a long race. Where are we? Where are we on the course? Looks like we're going into Glen Helen, is it? Around there somewhere. Okay, yeah, Sarah's. Okay, so
Black ball 57.
Black ball 57, oh dear. Ralph's heading back a little bit. Nathan's decided to go side saddle by the
White
looks of it.
ball number 5.
Ooh. Okay, looks like we're up on the...
13.
Oh dear. We're up on the Cronky Body straight at the moment. Carolyn's heading backwards. Nathan's still in his pits. Mike is falling asleep.
Black ball 57.
Bye-bye, Ralph. Backwards you go. I think Ralph's got a real advantage here. I'm looking at all these bikes. They've all got drum brakes. And Ralph's probably the only one old enough to have
Black
ridden
ball
on bikes
number
with
6.
drum brakes. So, of course, what matters in this race is who happens to be in the lead at the end of the lap. So that's the really important thing to keep an eye on. We're busy coming down to...
White ball 57.
down to Bungalow dip now by the looks of things. There we go, yep, heading out towards the 13th. Still a very slender advantage for Tony.
Black ball number 6.
Black ball number 6. I don't really fancy Nathan's chances in this one. I think that...
Could somebody collect me ball? Thank you. Just return the ball to its home. Yeah, there we go.
I guess, though...
White ball, 13.
White ball, 13. That's good. That puts Carolyn back in it. We're through the 13th now, and we're coming into Kirkmichael Village. Very fast right-hander there, Douglas Road corner. Lining ourselves up for the village, and then the scary Ren Cullen jump.
5.
White ball number 5. Tony's putting himself in the lead. It's going to be the first through Ren Cullen by the looks of things. And there we go, past the petrol garage.
White ball number 13.
White ball number 13. Okay, that's putting Carolyn back up. So it's going to be neck and neck through Alpine Cottage by the looks of it. 3 riders fighting for the lead.
Black ball number 17.
Black ball. Can we please change Mikey's black 17 to... can we do the opposite way around for him? So we...
White ball number 6.
Yeah.
Number 6.
Oh, Nathan's off.
No white ball.
Okay. So the younger guys are coming back into it now. Apart from Mikey, of course. He's still back in the pits. Where are we now on the course? It looks like... oh, yeah, we're coming down to Balath Bridge by the looks of things. And
white ball
there we
number
go.
5.
White ball number 5. That's going to mean that Tony stays in the lead. We're just leaving Balath Village.
Whoa, white ball number 5, and he's gone.
And again, okay, coming into the really scary left-hander at Balacry. Very important you get your bike straight after the left-hander for the jump. Let's see if anyone's going to do a jump. And
white ball,
the
57.
Carolyn, nice little jump from. And Ralph riding under his dad's number. It's of course 50 years since Ralph's
white
dad.
ball 57.
Roger Sutcliffe won the senior Manx Grand Prix. And right on cue, Ralph is coming through to take the lead. Roger Sutcliffe was, of course, our guest of honour at this year's event.
Black ball number 5.
Black ball number 5. Oh, Tony's slipping backwards.
White ball 13.
We're white ball 13. Yep. It looks like we're coming into Sulby Bridge. Tony must remember here is not travelling marshal. Do not stop Tony at Sulby Bridge.
Black
Keep going.
ball number 6.
The 2 young guys are leaving it to the old timers. And
black ball number 6.
Black ball number 6. Nathan's giving up. Nathan's
black
going
ball
over
number
to
17.
Nathan's going over to the beer tent, I think. And what we have to remember, of course, he's never that far behind. He only needs a few whites and he'll be back up with the leaders. We're through, by the looks of it, we're through Kerramore. And we're heading out now towards a very difficult part of the course.
Black ball number 5.
Okay, black ball number 5. Tony's going backwards. Very difficult part of the course, this one. You've got to get on your pegs, grip your tank. Very, very bumpy.
Black ball 57.
Black ball 57. The bumps around Glen Duff are not suiting Ralph. Starting to think about peeling in now to Glen Tramon.
Black ball number 6.
And that's another black ball for Nathan.
Oh.
It's not going well at all for young Harrison. Poor Nathan.
Where'd that one go?
It's tight at the front now between Carolyn and Ralph. And we're starting to think now, yeah, through the conker trees, wow, what a part of the course.
White
Carolyn.
ball 13.
White ball 13, okay. Carolyn's bringing it in. Carolyn's going to be first into Ramsey by the looks of it. Through Pinfold Cottage. Okay, Gardener's Lane. Through the very, very fast right-hander.
Black ball 57.
Black ball 57. Oh dear, Ralph's going backwards. That's leaving Carolyn in quite a commanding lead here, coming in Schoolhouse Corner.
White ball number 5.
White ball number 5, okay. Tony's heading back in the right direction. Right down towards Parliament Square. There we go.
Black ball number 6.
Really tricky right-hand corner. And Nathan is parking it. Over to Chris Kinley in the pits. Nathan's parking it by the looks of it. And it's funny to think that the other riders are already through Ramsey and Nathan hasn't even started yet. That's just the way it goes in this game. We're through White Gates now.
White ball 57.
Stella Maris. And coming up towards the Ramsey hairpin, where Roy Moore will be, of course. And
white ball number 5.
White ball number 5. That puts Duncan back into it, past the radio commentary point, up towards the waterworks. Very difficult combination of right-handers. First one really fast. It's the second one that catches people out.
White ball 13.
Okay, yeah, white ball. Carolyn's keeping it in there. They're heading up now towards through Tower Bends.
That's ball number 6.
That's that difficult, tricky right-hander. And yes, there must only be a black ball number 6. Yep. Can somebody else sit on that bike and see if you have I think we should have Carolyn on that bike.
White ball number 5.
Yeah, we're into the gooseneck now. Yeah, okay. That's where Manx Grand Prix TV Live will be broadcasting
White ball
from.
number 6.
And we have a visibility problem. Oh dear, that means there's going to be some mist. So the riders have been warned with a flag. And if they were to look behind... Oh, here it comes. Oh dear. And they must be particularly cautious now as they go up the mountain, because it's getting very, very difficult to see. One thing that Nathan is doing very well at is he's getting lots of mist.
Black ball 57.
Yeah, he certainly gets the prize for that. So very difficult, very tricky conditions. Extreme caution required. Heading over the mountain.
Number 5.
And it looks like we've reached the end of the mountain mile. Black ball 5, last one, okay.
Black ball number 13.
Black ball 13, not good for the young guys. I don't fancy their chances of making up the ground on this last run down the mountain now towards the finish line. It's tight though between Tony, Ralph and
Black
Carolyn.
ball number 17.
It's going to be a very, very difficult one to call. I can't see what's going on now. We're completely lost. I can't see what rider's in the lead. I can see just about a 13. This looks like a proper Manx Grand Prix. Ned Bowers is busy waving the visibility flag. I always thought that was a bit odd. Why have a visibility flag? You can't see it. It's odd. Anyway.
57.
And the fog's clearing. The fog is clearing. And we'll just be able to work out now where we are on the course. And Nathan's got back on his bike. Mike is still asleep. No, he's back up. And we're going over the mountain, coming into the Black Hut by the looks of things. So, yeah, very tricky now.
Black ball 57.
4 right-handers for the veranda. Got the Steve Hislop line there, always talked about by Ian McVitie. That's the one that always, the newcomers always get told
17.
that. Still, the visibility is... Ned's waving something at the fog machine, so I guess it's going to get foggy in a minute.
Black ball 17.
Mikey and Nathan have doubled up. I'm not sure if that's allowed or not. I don't know if that's within the rules. It's not making any difference because they're still last.
17.
Oh, we're through the Bungalow. Okay, we're heading up towards Brandywell. It's all downhill from here. Perhaps we'll see a late charge from Harrison or Evans at this point.
Black ball number 13.
Oh dear, Carolyn's dropping back. Carolyn's looking for a second race victory on the mountain course. But it looks like Tony's building up a bit of a commanding lead here as we come now down towards we're coming into Windy Corner. There, yeah, okay. Okay, with 33rd milestone, that means we've only got 4 miles to go to take us to the end of the lap. And the fog is cleared a little bit, and it's Tony holding advantage.
6.
Black ball number 6. Oh dear, oh dear. Is Nathan going to leave the start line before the others finish? This is the question that we all want to ask ourselves. It's not been the best of days for Evans or Harrison.
Black ball 17.
Black ball 17, there we go again. Over the Red Keppel Gate. Okay, now just to run down to Kate's. Kate's very fast left-hander down the hill. Craig Nabar, wave to the crowd. Don't fall off at the Craig.
Black ball number 5.
Black ball number 5. Okay. Black ball number... No, that's equalled it all up. So it's now looking like level pegging between Duncan,
Black ball number
Sells,
5.
and... Oh, Duncan's falling back. And it looks like that's a slight advantage to Sells, with Ralph in her slipstream. No prizes for
Black
guessing where
ball,
Mikey
17.
and Nathan are. They're still in the pits. Mikey's chosen to sit backwards. And it now looks like Ned's frantically waving the visibility flag. We're heading down the mountain now. We're through the Cregner Bar. It looks like we're coming into...
Black ball 17.
Black ball 17. That's not a surprise. That's not a surprise. It's getting very close now. I think we've
Black
got three...
ball 57.
Three riders level pegging. Ralph's fallen back a little bit. Okay, and I can't quite see where we are on the course. It looks like we are going into...
Wait a minute. Just stand by.
Whereabouts are we now?
Changing the weather.
Changing. Signpost corner. Okay, we're on the final few moments of this race. Still very difficult to call. We've got to get through Bedstead.
Number 5, white ball.
And it looks like we're just now... Sorry, difficult to see the monitor. There we are. I think we're through Bedstead. We're coming down to the Nook. Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult right-left-hand flick.
White ball number 5.
There we go, onto the old part of the course. And it's Tony back in the lead now as we come down towards Governor's Bridge.
White ball number
Scene
13.
of so much drama in the past. Ran a little hairpin, down the dip. All to play for now. There's just moments to go before we come back out into the Glencrutchery Road for the finish.
6.
And it's rain! Rain! Nathan's off. Nathan started. It's a whole lap behind, but who knows what can happen. We come to the start and the finish line.
White
and it's going to be
13.
neck and neck. And... I think we're going to have a decision from the line judge as to who's actually won that race.
I think it's probably a dead heat.
Whee! Congratulations to Tony and to Carolyn. What a fantastic race. And it looks like there's going to be a bottle of champagne which they can spray everybody with. And, oh sorry, Ned has got some awards to give out. So here comes Sam, he's going to do the... Are you going to do the presentation?
We've got races, 17, 24 seconds. Output lap record for the Manx Grand Prix, 130.3 miles.
These are the awards for each of the finishers.
This one goes back down the bottom from 2015 and the senior.
All right.
Medals for each of you for 2020. One for Tony, one for Ralph, one for Caroline, one for Mikey. You may wish to open the champagne.
Hey! Well, there we are. We all got a bit of a shower there. There we go. And we got a shower again. Yep. And I'm sure that's how things happened in 2009 as well, when Carolyn won that first race. So she's got another race win to add to her tally now. So some dramatic news from the finish line, and that is to say that from the timekeepers we've just had through that lap actually took exactly 17 minutes and 24 seconds, which equates to a new outright lap record for the Manx Grand Prix at 130.13 miles an hour. So congrats to Caroline and Tony again for that stupendous lap record. And now I think it's going to be over to John Watterson, who's going to take a little wander around the hall and speak to a few of the people here that are all associated with our event, the Manx Grand Prix. What a super effort, the amount of work that Ned and Rory have put into making that happen, and Luke and George and all the other guys, and Sam, of course. What a tremendous effort. It's really quite strange to think we're up here at the Bungalow. Unbelievable. What an achievement as well to be the first group of people to do live broadcasting for an event on the mountain course. Ned and his team, Manx Grand Prix Live, unbelievable. So here's John. He's going to take a wander around. I think he's using this particular mic. So, Mr. Watterson, thank you.
Thank you, Jim, for the commentary. Very exciting it was too. Now then, Jack, take a seat here. We're going to sit down for this. A bit of comfort, Jack. Let's hope the monitor is clearer at that end than it is here, because it looks a bit still a bit misty on the mountain. But Jack, it's a great privilege to talk to you. I wasn't around to see you racing in your pomp. 1950. 70 years this week. Well, Jack made his debut in the Manx Grand Prix. Jack, what can you remember of that year?
Well, it was the Garden Gate Norton then, not just pre-Featherbed. Vibration. It's a strange thing, but through ignorance, this bike, I don't know what they all did, but the more it vibrated, the more I gripped. And of course it should have been the other way around, and I made a real mess of my hands. They all swole up. That's one of the memories I've got. Other than that, I was influenced a great deal by Harold Rowell, who was a racer pre-war and post-war. And by the time he'd finished with you, you'd all be frightened to go around the corner. But other than that, in 1950, we were on pool petrol then, of course, and probably old tyres, but I enjoyed the ride, and then the pit stop and didn't cope well with the vibration on this Garden Gate 350 Manx Norton, but it was a wonderful experience. And the big thing is, I got special leave from National Service to ride in the Manx.
What experience had you had in before the Manx then? Had you ridden any road race of any kind?
No, only hill climbs up Ingerbreck and one or two others up to Hillbury from Crocknamona, and then trials and scrambles, of course.
And the Garden Gate Norton, as you describe it, whose bike was that? Was it your own?
No, it belonged to a chap called, I'm going to say A.A. Fenn, but prior to him I've really forgotten his name, but it belonged to a Manchester dealer.
I see. So Harold Rowell, did he influence the ride? I mean, Harold was a well-respected man, and his brother Bertie, as you say, of which they both were involved with the making of No Limits. They did some of the stunts between them and Jack Cannell and one or two others that were involved in that at the time in 1934, I think it was. You were a bit young to be around in those days watching, but you knew all about it, of course, the making of No Limit.
Yes, the reason I was rode in the 950 Manx originally was I was offered a T35 Douglas from a factory bike, supposed to be done through Harold Rowell, and it was promised and it was all organised, and it was a last minute withdrawal, and that's how I ended up with the Garden Gate Norton. But originally I was to ride a factory supported Douglas.
So you finished 26th out of 58, and it was won by Don Crossley, a local baker. Do you be quite friendly with Don?
Oh yes. One of the greatest compliments he paid to me 2 or 3 years ago, he accused me of holding him up in a Manx Grand Prix race.
Holding him up?
So I thought that was a great honour that I was good enough to hold the great Down Crossley up. I would think that would be about 1952.
And I make it you were the fourth local, because Dennis Christian, who passed on just very recently, was 11th in that race, in the same race.
Yeah, Dennis was a good rider. He was probably one of the first post-war Manx riders. He rode a KTT Velocet in the 1949 Manx. I've got an idea Billy Harding might have rode in 1948. Dennis definitely rode in 49 on a KTT Velocet.
So the following year, Jack, 1951, you did what quite a few riders did in those days, and you took the opportunity to ride the Clubman's TT for a few extra laps, really, to learn the course a bit more. And you had a good ride in that. You finished 6th in a race won by Ken Arbour, who was a good rider.
Yes, one of the worst features of the 1951 races was melting tar. And particularly, Kirkmaker, Douglas Road corner, it's almost like a river of tar. And I didn't know how to cope with that. But I finished 6th. The sad thing was Ivor Arbour won, and unfortunately he lost his life in the Manx that year. And Ken James, who was 2nd or 3rd, also lost his life in the Manx the same year.
So that Manx you're talking about, 1951,
yes.
The senior, was won by David Bennett, who I'm not familiar with actually, and Don Crosley was 2nd, and Dennis Parkinson, the Yorkshireman, was 3rd. 4th place was somebody most of you know in this room, Robin Sherry, who was a travelling marshal and lived in Union Mills for some years. But Robin was 4th in that race that you were 6th in.
So, yeah, I've forgotten, to be honest, 6th.
Yeah. I've got to tell him what he finished. And then 52, you were 9th in the senior and 14th in the junior. I'm not sure what bikes you were riding that year, 52.
Norton's, yeah.
Norton's again.
2 Norton's, yeah.
Norton's again. And then 53 in the Manx Grand Prix again. 4th in the senior, you just missed the podium, and 9th in the junior. So you're getting some good results out there, Jack, at that time.
Yeah, well, I want to aim to be in the first dozen in the Manx, and in 1955 I finished 3rd in the junior.
Now at that time, a good friend of yours, Jeff Duke, was top in the world. He was the top rider in the world. He was the Mark Marquez of his time, the Valentino Rossi of his time. A wonderful rider, but an example to us all. You were good friends with Jeff, and he helped you out, didn't he?
Yeah, Jeff came round to the house in 1953 to see what to ride his bikes the following year. And what he was keen to run was the Gilera Saturno. And he thought that as a production bike, we could do well on it. That never happened, but then he got the BSA, and then went in 1956 onto the Velocets.
Do you ever wonder what would have happened had you? I know it wasn't a pucker race, Gilera, but it was would nevertheless have been a decent bike, I think, if you had the chance.
The Saturno was a lovely motorcycle, and there was one in the 53 Manx ridden by a chap called H.A. Voice. I'm not sure where he finished. I remember passing him on the 500 Norton. The other bike that I could have had a ride on was the 250 Gilera, but it didn't work out. But for the Ulster Grand Prix, I was offered it.
Another rider, you mentioned the Ulster Grand Prix, was indeed Derek Ennett, who lost his life on that course. But Derek in 53 in the senior, he finished 3rd. Dennis Parkinson, who won quite a few Grand Prix, because that was before the time when it was tradition to move on up to the TT. And Dennis, he stayed with the Manx for years, and I think he won about 5. Rob Keeler was 2nd, and Derek Ennett, as I mentioned, was the only matchless in the top 6 or 7. Top 7 actually, the only non-Norton rider in that race. I think that was a G45, is that correct?
Yeah, but Derek was undoubtedly at that part in the mid-50s or early 50s, was undoubtedly the best local rider. I certainly couldn't beat him. I could have a go with him, but in the 1954 Northwest 200, he won, and I think I was second or third. But I won the Northwest 200 the following year.
Which was that the 350 class?
350 on Jeff Duke's PSA.
And so then would you regard that as your best moment, your best ride?
I'm sorry, John?
Would you regard that then, the 350 win at the Northwest, as your best finish, best ride?
Oh yeah, that's my only rise to fame. But I did win down in Wicklow, the Leinster 100. I won 2 races in the one day. That was the 350 class. It was a road course that went through the back of Wicklow and out into the country. And it was, I think it was an 8 or 9 mile circuit, and I borrowed the push bike from a local to learn the course, and I won the 350 in the morning, and Reg Armstrong won the senior on the Gilera, and in the afternoon there's going to be a handicap race and the 250. But when we come out of being interviewed by Radio Éireann, I said, "How are you, Jeff?" He said, "Oh, we've got a sore back." And I said, quite jokingly really, I said, "I'll ride the 250 for you." We were coming down from Radio Éireann. Didn't think any more about it. Went back in. I wasn't going to go in the handicap race because I knew I'd be handicapped out of it with winning the junior. The next thing, Jeff came up and said, "Clean your goggles." I said, "What for? You're going to ride the 250. I'd never even been on the 250 in it. Anyway, we got down and, on the line, and it was all hustle and bustle because it was all waiting to go. And the fellow said, "You can rev it to 9, but you bet at 8 it vibrates a lot at over 8,500. And away I went. And you might find this strange, going up side saddle, starting with all the 250s from Ireland. The footrest was in a slightly different position outside saddle and couldn't find the footrests. And I looked down and it was just a bit further back from the Gold Star. But anyway, I got on and I was fourth and then third and then second, then I got in the lead. And it was such a lovely bike to ride compared to what I had been riding. It was so easy to ride. And I broke the race record, lap record, and I couldn't help it.
Brilliant.
So that's my claim to fame, is the Northwest and those 2 races down in Wicklow. When I think they were called the Leinster 100.
Ah, yes. I think you told me that before, and I know Frank Fox rode those as well at that time.
Yes, that's right. They were the handicap. No, the lap record I got withheld by Arthur Wheeler.
So 54, another good friend of yours and mine, I have to say, George Costain. Yes. He won the senior Manx in the wet. John Hartle crashed just down the road at the East Mountain Gate, I think it was, on the last lap, and George, well, he came through it. He won it, and a popular winner he was too.
Well, yes. George did very well because the conditions deteriorated when we set off. It wasn't too bad at all, but we knew the forecast was not good. And the sponsor of John Hartle, and I've forgotten his name now, but before the start of the race, he changed the engine sprocket down one, which is a big drop, 23 to a 22 tooth sprocket. You're allowed to do it, it's quite legal. But that's what caught John out, of course, is petrol consumption. Because he was lower geared and it was accelerating better, and he was gone. But they didn't allow for the petrol consumption.
So that's right, he ran out of petrol, yes.
And I was on my backside of a little bank.
Is that what it was? I didn't know what the DNF was. So that was 55. Was that your only crash on the course? 54, sorry. Your only crash on the course, was it 54?
That's the one I had on the TT course, yeah.
55 then, that the junior was won by Jeff Tanner from Alan Holmes another Manxman, and you were third
On the BSA.
on the BSA. Eddie Crooks was fifth, and Bob Doughty 10th. So quite a good Manx start, good race for the locals.
For the BSA, with a pushrod engine, they didn't expect it to do quite as well. And I can honestly say, I'm not bragging, but I was riding my best in 1955. That's when I won the Manx and the race to the Leinster down in Wicklow. And so I was riding my best when I went into 56 on the Velocets.
So if you were going to win, 55 was your chance, really.
Yeah, yes, I needed a good bike. I got it, but the Velocet was. I went to all of it. I did a few Grand Prix on the Velocet, like the Italian and the German and the Belgian and the Swedish. So there was a lot of chasing around the continent, but the bike wasn't competitive.
I noticed that in the actual 56 senior, the Velo was the only Velocet in the field.
Yeah, I think I was the first 350 to finish in the senior TT in 1956.
Yeah. So by now we've moved on to the TT, of course. I've got you down at 58, 23rd in the junior on an AGS. I presume that was a 7R, and 22nd in the senior on a matchless G50, G45 twin. And of course that was won, well, both races were won by Surtees. Then that was it. Your career basically finished 58.
They gave me the G50 to ride there, which was the second G50 ever made. The first one was raced by Jack Ahern in 1958, as you probably well know. And I got the second one, the Ulster Grand Prix, and I finished seventh on it, I think. Bad conditions.
My word, that was quite a thing to be given such an iconic bike, to be the second man to race it properly on the roads.
Jack Hearn wasn't too pleased. He was ninth.
Brilliant. I didn't know that. In the records, now, there are a few anomalies on the records. On the Duke site, it does say that you rode the 1968 125 TT. Is that correct? No, that's wrong. But, well, I did say it was on the site, and it is on the site. In 85, and I was there to witness it, you did ride the Manx Grand Prix.
I did, that's right.
And by that time, Jack, what age were you?
Over 21. Do you know, I'm not sure, John. 85. I was born in 1929.
Somebody can work that out quickly. 30 was 50, 54? 56. So that was to come back to the Junior Classic Manx, I think. Was that the first year of the Classic Manx? Was it before? 83, was it? So you came back and you rode an Air Mackie. You didn't finish, but how did you feel that in that 30 years since you'd last raced almost? How did you feel?
I enjoyed it immensely. It's a lovely little bike with the BS Air Mackie. There's only one. Francis Pete only made one, or to his design, you might say. It was a lovely little bike to ride. And I think I was third or fourth qualifying in the practice. You will know that, won't you? I think I was fourth quickest.
I don't actually. I didn't know that, Jackie did not know.
Yes, I was third or fourth quickest in practice, so I wasn't in to win, but I could have perhaps been in the first three. But motorbike grabs you, you know, you're riding. I was riding this Air Mac, and it was only a fun ride, really. It was really, I was jocked into doing it. And all of a sudden you're saying, well, if I did this or braked there or went through a higher gear there, and I thought, what the hell am I trying to do? But you get into start analysing and saying, how can I improve this? I can go through there quicker. And I had to get a hold of myself and say, come on, fellas, stop being stupid, just ride us.
Yeah. But secretly, you qualified top 3 or 4. You must have been really chuffed to come back after all those years and do that.
Well, yes, I was chuffed, John, yes. But I was a real motorcycle enthusiast, really, and particularly TT riding and Manx Grand Prix riding. You know, when I was clock of the course, you always asked, why do you do it? Why do they do? What do they do it? And these fellas here will tell you the pleasure you get out of racing a bike round here, if you're interested, far, far outweighs the risks.
Really?
Oh, definitely. The risks are quite secondary. The pleasure of riding and the challenge of each corner is different, your braking point is different, and how you can build up. And otherwise, why would people do it?
Exactly. Well,
it's a very, very high risk activity, but very pleasurable.
that's amazing to say that. I mean, there must be getting on for 20 or maybe more than 20 riders in here tonight who have competed on the mountain course. I'd be surprised if anybody disagreed with that comment. I'm sure I've never raced the TT course, only on a bicycle. But no, I can imagine it's a great thrill and a fantastic experience. Jack, you mentioned the clerk of the course, and to most people in this room, that's what you're best known for. Maybe wrongly, because you were a very good rider in your own right. But am I right in saying, I thought about this tonight actually, were you the first Manxman to be the clerk of the course of the TT?
Yes, I'm the only Manxman and only ex-rider.
Say that again.
The only Manxman and the only ex-rider to be clerk of the course of the TT.
I did wonder that, because I know prior to you, Ken Shearson and whoever else had done it, and since then, obviously Neil had a short stint, and Gary Thompson, but you're the only ex-rider. You were doing both. Well, actually, you say you first were Manx Grand Prix clerk of the course 74 to 1980 and 83 to 93. So does that mean you were clerk of the course the year you rode?
Whatever you say, John, I'm not sure of the dates.
Well, you rode 80. You came back and you rode 85, and according to my stats, you were clerk of the course from 83 to 93.
Yeah, well, yes, I'd come out of clerk of the course when I was the president of the club. So you couldn't really do both. No, chairman and president.
Yeah, it's amazing to think you've been chairman, president of the club, and you were clerk of the course. You rode the TT. You did just about everything, really. I don't know, as a schoolboy, you marshalled. You probably did.
Yeah, I enjoyed being a travelling marshal.
Oh, yes, you did do a travelling marshal as well. So then you had two stints as Manx Grand Prix clerk of the course, 74 to 80 and 83 to 93. And you were chairman during that period as well of the club. And in 1984 then, you had a 15-year tenure as clerk of the course for the TT.
Yeah, I think it did 16 TTs.
16 was it? You must have found that quite a privilege, but it must have been also very stressful.
Well, it is very stressful, yes. It's a very difficult job to do, and you've got to be very careful of getting emotionally involved, because during the practice period, when our deputies were running the practices, I was always involved with any serious accident. And of course we had locals during that period of time, and I found that extremely difficult. It had to be done, and I wanted to do it because I felt it was my job as clerk of the course. I wouldn't get involved with any serious accidents during race day because you're too involved with running the races. But I did in the practice period.
Well, Jack, it's amazing to hear your stories, and you probably had such an amazing life and involvement right from 1950, 70 years of involvement with the TT and the Grand Prix. You're still steeped in it. You still love the TT and the Grand Prix.
Yes. I am. I'm not quite so involved now as I would be, like following it and spectating and so on. But my interest is still there. But we're back in the late 40s and 50s. Lived for it.
I'll ask you one last question. And in that 70 years of involvement, I think I know what your answer's going to be. And you probably know what the question's going to be. Who stands out as being the best rider?
The best rider, did you say? or in my period, Jeff Duke.
I knew that. Well, I'd been surprised if he said anybody else, frankly, but I never saw Jeff ride. He was an absolute gentleman, and Jack, you are a gentleman too, and it's an honour to speak to you. Thank you. Thank you. So, we're going to have a quick chat with Steve Moynihan and a very quick chat with Roger at the end, Roger Sutcliffe. So, Moyni, if you can, do you want to help up? Tony will give you help up if you need it. Just go around that way, Moyni, I think. Oh, just come straight to the middle, doesn't matter. No, Steve. Take the hot seat.
Thanks, John.
Morning. Good to meet you again and see you again. Been a good friend for a long time. We've been good mates right from when you first moved over, really. You moved over about just after you won the Manx. That's correct? What year?
73.
Now, you first. Well, I remember you telling me once you lived in Potter's Bar, which is quite interesting, really, because now he spends a lot of time in the bar at the Glue Pot. There's a the Glue Potter's Bar in Castletown, where he's known as Half Pint. I can't possibly think why, but he always orders a half Guinness. And you go in, like you say, "Well, you have money," and he goes, "Oh, I'll have half a Guinness." So he has half a Guinness. Then he has another half before you finish your pint. So why he just doesn't get it in a pint glass, I don't know. Maybe it's too heavy to hold. I don't know. But anyway, you still enjoy a pint in the Glue Pot in Castletown. You made a debut 69, 21st in a junior honour Norton. Memories of that?
Well, I think the only memories of that were how scary it was, not knowing where we were going. You know, we were just finding our way, really.
So it wasn't like today where you can watch a video or come over before and all that. Had you even been round the course before you came over?
Oh yeah, I've been over a couple of times. Yeah, well, a few times. Yeah.
You came over to watch before.
Yeah.
I think you told me one time that your first race meeting was at Welwyn Garden City. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's on a Manx cycle stadium, and it was a 50cc race.
Ah, right. I thought it was like round some car park. Not much different though.
Bank circuit.
Right. So in 70, in 1970, the race was won by the junior was won by Clive Brown. And Roger was third, actually, in that race. You were fifth in that, so it was a good improvement from the first year to finish fifth.
Yeah, that's quite a memorable race for me because I had a race long dice with a bloke called Joe Thornton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was a fanatical guy. Like he was bouncing off curbs and hedges and. Oh, it was crazy race, but we were every lap, 6 laps I went around with him. He was mad. We went over Bluff Bridge and followed him over there, and I thought, Christ, he's not going to come down, you know. He went up in front of me, and I thought, blimey. Yeah. Anyway, he finished third, or fourth, I think he was. I was fifth, that's right. Yeah.
So 71, the big one for you. You told me one time, you only rode an Air Mackie once, and that was the Junior Manx, and you won on it. Yeah. You said you didn't really like it.
No, when I first got on it, it was pretty horrible, really, and crashed it in practice. We blew it up, so it was a bit of a, didn't think we were going to make the race, really. It was only because Sid came over. He wasn't with me when he came over for practice. Sid Lawton, who owned the bike. Yeah. He came over in the weekend before the race, put the bike together. When I went down the road on it, after he put it together, set the thing up, it was like a different bike. It was fantastic. You know, just trying to think who it was. He was on the Nigel Rollison. That was right. He was leading, and he was obviously favourite with the Yamaha. He went out quite early, and yeah, the bike was just fantastic. It steered sort of just short shifting everywhere, you know, just rode it. It was fantastic, yeah.
So you never rode one before an Mackie, and you never rode one again?
No, I haven't, actually, no.
No, it's strange. I often thought that, and I've asked you this question numerous times, why did he never come back and do a classic?
Just don't know really, John. Don't know how to answer that one really. Just got involved with other things, you know, work and whatever. So, I think once you're off the bike for a long while, it's job to get back into it again, really.
Yeah. So you moved into the TT the following year, 72, and 72 and 73, you had quite a few DNFs really. I don't think you had a race finish in that period. You needed a good mechanic really, Steve, at that time, you know. 75. You didn't ride the TT. Were you injured going into it?
Can't remember what happened there, John. 75. No, I can't remember what happened there, John. Bike, I suppose.
76, yeah, in the Proddy race with Steve Murray, who you shared it in the two-man event. You shared it and you finished 12th. The race was run by Bill Simpson and Chas Mortimer. That was in the mixed classes, so you had 250s, 500s, 750s or whatever. That was good fun?
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, the bikes were a bit slow, but yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Now at 77, you had a good ride on Malachi Craig's Yamaha 350 in the Schweppes Classic, which of course was famous for being Joey's first win.
Yes.
You'd seen Joey probably ride the Southern the year before, and you probably thought, this guy's a bit of a goer. Did you think he was ever going to be the star that he became?
Joey was, he was special. I mean, he used to come over here for the Derby airfield meetings, and he was a phenomenal guy then. You know, myself and Ronnie Russell were going around there, and regularly, obviously. And Joey turned up, followed me and Ronnie round, and within half a dozen laps, he was lapping a second quicker. You know, it was just crazy, man. You know, he'd never been there before.
So he rode the airfield, and he certainly rode the road circuit. I remember seeing him on the road circuit quite a lot. In the 79 was your first top 10 finish in the TT, and it was such an iconic race, really. Do you remember? It was the senior that Alex George won, with Mike Hailwood second, Mike's last race.
Yeah.
So that was your first top 10 finish in the TT. Just to go through the top 10, it was Alex George, Mike Hailwood, Charlie Williams, Jeff Sale, another Australian, Graham McGregor, Joey Dunlop, Chas Mortimer and Kenny Blake. That was some ride for you that day to get there with that sort of company, Steve.
Yeah, was that on the Yamaha, was it?
Yeah.
No, that must have been Malachi's bike, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I thought, when I looked at it a couple of nights ago, I thought that must have been one of your best rides on paper, that, to be in that sort of company, in the TT on a 350, when quite a few of those were on 500s, and Alex George was on 1,000 and 900.
Yeah. Thanks for
You've forgotten that, haven't you? You've forgotten that.
Thank you.
So in the junior that year, Charlie won that from McGregor and Ian Richards. You were 11th. And in 81, in the classic TT, which in those days wasn't for classic bikes, it was for modern bikes, 11th in that. I think by then, were you on the RG 500?
What year was that?
81.
Oh, no. No.
Still 350.
Yeah, still 350.
Yeah. And then 82, you had, on paper, your best ride. But then again, I don't know whether you would regard it as your best ride on the course. Certainly in the TT. You were second in the Formula 2 to Tony Rutter. And Phil Odland third, who wasn't a particularly good TT rider, but nevertheless he was good on the F2 bike, wasn't he?
Yeah, I remember that race, yeah.
And would you regard that as you know, I think Tony had the best bike by far that day. He was on a Ducati and you were on a 350 F2, weren't you?
That's right, yeah. That was Stan Hall's bike. Yeah. That was quite funny because in practice, we couldn't even get the bike to do a lap. We had a problem with the carburation. The thing kept blowing up. So that was the afternoon race. In the morning, I'd stopped at Big Arrow on, what was it? On the 250 Cotton, I think it was, something like that. And I was just thinking, it's just not worth going back for the afternoon race on stands because we hadn't even done a lap. But some bloke said, no, I'll give you a lift, So, yeah, okay, so off we went and got a lift, got on the bike, and next thing I know, I'm getting signals 6th, 5th, and 4th, and blimey, this is good. So it went. It was amazing. I never thought we were even going to finish. So, yeah, it was good.
Steve, you continue to ride. You did ride Stan's RG, and which I always thought the classic line of the monkey on a greyhound. Really, it was a bit of an animal, that bike, and you were sort of hanging on there a little bit. It was a big bike, quite a big bike for you to ride, but you rode well on it. You had some good results, and you carried on to 87. I remember you coming out up towards the waterworks, and I think you got spat off, didn't you, up there somewhere?
Yeah, that was on the Yamaha in the wet.
Yeah, in the wet, yeah. But as with most of the people I've interviewed tonight, you race, but then you put so much back into the sport, even during the period that you raced. You were the go-to man for certainly for Yamahas and for cranks and whatever work needed doing. It was always, we'll go and see Moynie. And Honda, you were friendly with Tuxworth, still are probably, and you did a lot for Honda, and you probably no doubt helped a lot of guys over the years to get good results because you did all sorts of work for them. A lot of it unknown to people. Moynie would probably be scratching in his garage late at night, and more often than not, soft arse that he is, you wouldn't be charging for it, would you, Moynie?
Don't know about that.
But Moynie, no. Seriously, you've done so much to help other people. And that probably reflects in the fact that you had a lot of DNFs over the years, but you were riding in a period when reliability wasn't the best, certainly on the two strokes. You had 22 DNFs from 37 starts, so you didn't finish more than you started. You know what I mean? You had more non-finishes than finishes. And that was probably because you spent a lot of the time helping other people. And I know that for a fact. But anyway, Moynie, it's been great to talk to you. You've been a good friend over the years, and it's good to see you here tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, John.
And to finish tonight, we're going to finish with the man who won on this course 50 years ago yesterday, the 3rd of September 1970. So Roger, let's give you a minute to walk down and then we'll have a chat with you. I better sit down because you can't see me head, or that might be a good thing actually. But I remember watching as a kid at Glen Helen and sitting at Glen Helen the day that Roger won, and it was great to see it.
How are you doing, John?
I'm doing well, boy. Good to see you here, Roger. And it's amazing, I'm sure it's amazing to think it's 50 years since you won the Senior Manx yesterday. What memories have you got of that day?
Well, it'll always live with you, that's for certain. I mean, anybody who won a race anywhere, whether it's TT, Manx Grand Prix, or around Derby or around Cadwell Park, I mean, you always remember the wins, don't you? It was just exhilarating, really.
Did it open a few doors for you, that win?
Yeah, well, yeah, because, people take notice, don't they? It wasn't an easy race, actually, because when I pushed off, the G50 Matisse I were on, it didn't start. And I pushed the full length of the pits, and it started, but it wouldn't pick up. It was just boom, 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 boom. And I was sat side saddle, and I put my leg over because I thought it's going to go. And then number 58 passed me. I was 57, like, and number 58 passed me and disappeared down Bray Hill. So it picked up then, and off I went. So I'd lost a fair few seconds, obviously, at the start. And then on from the start of the fourth lap, I had a problem with oil for the last three, and I had 3 big slides as well before I, realised it definitely was oil. I mean, one of them I was really struggling to. I mean, that knee were on the footrest, and that knee were on the hump of the seat, and I was just hung on. And that was at the Black Dub. And I had one before that at Ballacrane, and they'd phoned in from there, and Kipper were up at the bungalow. They'd asked him to observe 57 going through, and Kipper he went on the side of the road and he went knelt down watching go through. I thought, they were in a funny place there. But the thing was, I mean, you've got to stop and have a look. I mean, at first I thought it was just because I was leading, I was obviously going a bit quick, and then I realised there was something happening, especially through Black Dub. So I took it easy up through Craig Willys, and I was trying to look down and look at my boots for oil and that, but I couldn't see anything. I thought, oh, it must be just me. I was wrong. So I carried on, and then I come down into the 11th, and of course you got the couple of right-handers where you're going down a bit at a time, and then suddenly you got to whip it over to the left, and it just went a big slide there, speedway style. So I realised then that I had a problem, and that's why Ken Huggett, although Ken did put the fastest lap up on the last lap, and that's why he caught me for that reason, obviously, but I was also losing time all the way with the oil, but I managed to hang on 4.8 seconds. We get much closer, does it?
Well, it came down quite a lot on the last lap. I don't know. I put the picture in the paper on Monday. I don't know whether you saw it on Tuesday. Yeah. And the young lad alongside you. I take it that was you, Ralph.
Yeah.
With a little hoodie on. Yeah, as a young lad, 10-year-old then. So it was on the first lap. Actually, Gordon Pantle led, and he'd been fastest in practice, I think. Yeah. And he led by 12.8 seconds, end of lap 1. But he retired on lap 3 with a blown motor at Sulby. And then you led by 1 minute and 21 from Huggett at half distance. Ken, but he did speed up, as you said, and he got the fastest last lap at 97.2. And the lead came tumbling down then, obviously with the problems you had with the oil, down from 48 seconds and then to 34 at Ballacrane on the last lap, 30 at Balaf, 26 at Ramsey and 25 here at the Bungalow. But as you said, you hung on to win by 4.8.
I had signals, obviously good signals, and just after Windy Corner I had a signal there, one of the Welsh lads, and I was watching the times coming down, so obviously the time that he got would probably be thrown down Ramsey, I would presume, and I thought, oh, 30 seconds, 25 seconds I think it was by the time I got the signal there. And I thought, oh, we're home and dry, but I'm not going to do it silly, like, you know, because anything could happen. So I just ease it off a bit. And you don't realise, just easing it a little bit, how much time you do lose. Right. I mean, I've been obviously riding with a lot of restraint with the oil as it was, but I mean, when you think you've got 25, 30 seconds or whatever it was, and the next thing is you come into the thing and says, oh, it's close, you know. He says it's counting it down, because Ken he'd already come in, like, you know, and as it happened, I managed it.
2 days earlier, you'd finished third in the junior on Sid Lawton's Air Mackie, and Clive Brown won that from Nigel Rollison. Yeah. That was a good race too. Well,
yeah, Nigel, I was lying second for the biggest part of that race. But Nigel, he picked me on the last lap, obviously. But he also, as he pushed off, it wouldn't start from the very start. He had a TR3 on it. And he pushed off, and it wouldn't start, so he went straight into his pit, changed plugs, and he still managed to finish second. Yeah, it was a good ride on Nigel's behalf, that.
Well, Nigel, of course, was a winner in the senior Manx, and he also went on to win a sidecar TT. He's the only person to have done that, so that was impressive.
There's a little story behind that, actually. His mechanic, Nigel's mechanic, because we all knew each other, obviously, and Prues did a competition. You had to pick the first 3 out, and Nigel said, "I'm going down to Prues to put these, to put the forms in." He says. So he said to the young fellow, to his mechanic, he says, "Give us your form." And he had to make another one out because he'd already made one out with me winning it. And then Nigel, of course, they're adding it back afterwards and put his own one in, and he actually won the watch.
Really?
Yeah, I won it for winning, but he actually won the punters one, you know. Yeah.
So inevitably you moved up to the TT, and straight away in the TT, well, 72 anyway, he had a 6th place in the senior, behind Agostini, Peter Williams, Frank Perris, Selwyn, Griffiths and Gordon Pantle. So 2 riders there you knew quite well, but you were then in with the big boys.
Yeah, good ride that really. I enjoyed it. I mean, if you look at the times, they were virtually just a fraction quicker than what the Manx was, my speed in the Manx was. So, yeah, good days then.
And were you on a G50 again then?
Yeah, that was a G50, standard G50, yeah. Ray Cowles, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then half of the top 10, this shows you 1972, half of the top 10 were matchlesses that day. 72 and 73 you rode Crook Suzuki's for Eddie. 73 lightweight you were down for an Ossa. Did you ride that?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Yeah, it was Colin Appleyard's. Yeah.
I didn't know you rode that.
Just kept seizing all the time. Yeah. Just literally seized and every time I went out on it.
Yeah, that would be Air Cool 250 single. Yeah. And then 77 you rode for Paget's. Was that for Peter or?
Yeah, all it was a 250, and it was one that Clive was riding, but they put a new engine in, and he just asked me to ride it, just to run it in, because speed I'd be going at compared to them boys. Yeah. And that's the only time I ever rode a bike with slicks.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think Clive rode the TT or the mountain course, but he was certainly a very good short circuit rider. You met Gary.
He was doing GPs, and I just rode the bike literally to run it in for him, really.
Yeah, Clive was good on short circuits. He was, yeah. 87, I reckon you were age 49, and you rode the classic Manx on the Cowles matchless again, and you finished 10th at 93, which was a decent speed. Dave Pither won that day. And by that time, of course, Ralph had already won a Manx.
Yeah, true, yeah. Yeah, because I went 10 years from when I packed in on the TT in 77, 10 years, but then I rode, I would have never entered, but it was Ray Cowles wanted to, because Selwyn had put an entry in, you see. Yeah. Or Ray had persuaded Selwyn to put an entry in. So he rang us up and said, I said, entries have closed, Raymond. He says, you're all right, he says. Just give Tubby a ring, he said, because he says Selwyn's just booked in tonight.
So you had a good relationship with Ray Cowles too. It's amazing how often Ray's name has come up tonight with different people. He was a great sponsor and a great guy. He rode himself, of course. Yeah. But you had 20 years span on the TT course, of which really most of it was concentrated into 10 years. And then you, like quite a few others in the room, became a travelling marshal for some years, and I don't know how long you were TM, but...
About 14, I think, something like that, yeah.
And did you enjoy that, or did you find it stressful?
No, good, I enjoyed it, yeah. I mean, you've got a job to do. It can be, obviously, sometimes a bit gory, like, but, I mean, it's a job, isn't it? Because the first time I did it, I thought, it's all right, this game, it's good fun, like, but I thought, what happens if you come across a bad one, And, the first year we come across one, and fortunately, it didn't bother me. Yeah. I know some people it does, like, but, yeah, that's the other side of it, obviously.
Yeah, clearly. But you still enjoy the TT, you still enjoy the Manx. It's a privilege to have you here tonight, Roger, 50 years on. It's nice to hear your memories of the race in particular. And I'm sure you've all enjoyed it. So, Roger Sutcliffe, still a star. Good man. Thanks, bro. Cheers. We're looking for Jim now. Is he lost on the mountain somewhere? Bathroom break. He picks his moments, doesn't he? We've got it. Well, I'll just move back into the light here, into the screen here. Yeah, it is a privilege to talk to Roger and Steve and all the guys tonight. I've really enjoyed it, and not very often you get the chance to speak to them. And it makes me think I hope these are taped for posterity because they are so interesting. So here's Jim. A winner on the mountain course himself in the newcomers. Don't tell me they set to give you a year, but it was early 80s. 86, so I was mid-80s, but there you go. Right, Jimbo, here you go. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you for those wonderful interviews. And I think it's now time for the Travelling Marshal race. Do Travelling Marshals race? No? The Travelling Marshals ride back to the start and finish line. Yeah. I know. It looks like the lads are nicely settled in the beer tent at the moment, and it's going to be quite difficult to drag them out. Oates is thinking about it by the looks of it. Oh, he's up. McVitie's up. Granger's on his way. John is there. Here he comes. He's finished down at the Claddocks. He's left his motorhome behind. Right, Steve's going on bike 5. Steve's going to be... It looks like nobody wants to go on Nathan's bike. I don't know why. McVitie's on 6. Gates, super experienced guy. Gates is going for bike 17. And Granger's on the bike that it shows 57 because he is 57. Brett's got a problem getting his leg over. There we are. He's on. Unlucky for some, John is on number 13. Don't forget, guys, this isn't a race. Right? Proceed with caution back to the start and finish line. Okay? Don't race. Racing's not allowed. But you can race tonight. And it looks like we're almost... The guys have had their lunch. They're fully fueled. They've been in a fireman's hut. They've got the instruction to proceed to their marshalling points. Thumbs up. And John's ready on the ball machine. And we're waiting now with bated breath to see who's going to take an early lead. And it's 57. So Granger's off. He's got to get his bike off the centre stand. Bit of a problem. And he's off and away now. Yes, that's good. 17. An early start. 17. Good. Okay, Gates is moving up into second. And we're steaming our way down Bray Hill at the moment. 13. And 13. Very appropriate that Ian McVitie should be on bike 6. We often associate his with bike number 6, of course. First person to do 120 17. On bike 6. Brett's looking good with the shopping basket on the back there. In the crouch position. Waiting for Oatsy to get a start.
57.
57, 5 and 7. Granger's off. Granger's on the police bike tonight, I think. That's right, yeah. Undercover police.
57.
And 57, oh yes. Let's get the speeding gun on him. And looks like Johnny's got a bit of a problem with his wing mirror there. He's just doing his hair at the moment.
5.
And Oates is off. And that's good. As we're coming into Balagary now, very scary right-hand corner. Heading our way down. Number 5 again. Okay, Oatsy. He's got. Steve's bound to pull in. Steve's bound to turn off at Sulby Crossroads. Up to the Claddocks. And 13, unlucky for some. Johnny. Okay, it's looking pretty good. But again, bike 6 is not. Bike 6 is still in the
13.
pits. 13. Okay, Johnny. Now this is going to be interesting. We're going through Crosby.
Hang on, the weather's gone.
Oh dear. Oh my goodness. The
Number 5.
the weather's turned bad, and Oates has got to move forward. And it looks like this is where Ned gets the full bucket of water out.
It's raining.
Oh, it's raining. No, it's not. Okay. It looks like there could be some rain in a minute. Oh, John's got an issue with his balls. Poor old John. That's it. We're off. And the black balls are coming out. And there's the wet weather flag now. And
white ball, 13.
And it's Johnny Hegg. They come through the sweeping, frighteningly fast Gorsley. This could be interesting. We're coming down to Ballacrane. Everybody stops here for cake.
57.
Don't forget to stop for cake. Lead for Granger. Still very worried about that front tyre.
Black ball, 17.
Oh dear. Brett's going back to have a chat with Ian. Ian, of course, is on bike 6. He's got absolutely no chance. No fuel in it. Never mind, there's no fuel. There's no ball for it. Somebody took the number 6 out.
Black ball, 57.
57. Granger's been blackballed. Johnny's got a flatty.
Black ball, 57.
Black ball, 57. Bye-bye, Steve. That puts you behind the green screen. So, Johnny's taking an early advantage
White ball, 17.
As we head down this. Okay, that's for Gates. Gates, white ball. Okay, white. No. Brett's getting his forward and backwards mixed up. Okay. Oh, what's this?
Ball, 57.
I don't remember hearing ball 6 come out of their thing. But Ian's moving forward. I don't recall hearing that. Okay.
Black ball, 13.
Okay. Back goes Johnny. Well, that makes Ian's not doing quite so bad now, because so everyone's going backwards and he's sort of
Black ball, number 5.
Black ball 5. Right. We're all back to where we started from, apart from Brett, as we go along the Cronky body. Gates is looking in a strong position as he thinks about dropping it down into the 11th milestone.
Black ball, 57.
Black ball 57. That's it. Granger's parking it. There we go.
Black ball, number 5.
We're coming down into Handleys, I think. So we're getting ready for the right-left flick. I love this part of the course. Ian's going to sleep.
Black ball, number 6.
Okay, there we go. Look at that. Yeah. It just looks a bit like the old No Limit film, doesn't it? Just see George coming past now. Okay, we're through Handleys.
Black ball, 13.
Black ball 13. Oh dear. Oh dear. Yeah, Gates is looking strong. Those knobbly tyres on that little Honda.
Black ball, number 6. Could be number 9.
Yep. And okay, there's John.
White ball, number 57.
Okay, white, we're off. 3. Steve's off. Steve's off again now. I'm just trying to work out which part of the course we're on. It looks like... Oh, yeah,
Black ball,
of course.
13.
Come, Michael. Black ball 13. John is off to the beer tent. And we're through...
Black ball, number 5.
Black ball number 5. Okay. We're through Rencullen by the looks of things. Just over the big scary jump. Here we go. That's a scary part of the course.
White ball, 17.
White ball 17. Hooray! Okay, this is looking good for Gates. As we approaching Bishop's Court, thinking about Alpine, and John is looking down at his
White
bike.
ball number 6.
White ball number 6. Hey! Oh, hey! Number 6 has become number 9. Ian's changed his number. That's change of number. Don't forget to amend your programs. Bike 6 is now bike number 9.
White ball number 5.
White ball number 5. Okay, just thinking about now. Oh yes, over Balaff Bridge, and this is anybody's race at the moment. It's going to be a very difficult one to call.
17.
White ball 17. Okay, Brett's building up a nice advantage here as we work our way down towards Balacry. Very fast right-hander up over the jump. Nice shot of John there. Again, still playing with his... Yes, waiting.
Black ball number 6.
Black ball. Good job Ian changed his number to 9 so he doesn't have to go backwards.
Black ball number 6.
Oh, yes. Well, number 6 is obviously out of the race. But number 9 is starting to look much stronger. Okay, so where are we now?
Black ball 17.
Black ball. Oh, Bet's dropping back. There's this. We've got Rosie here tonight from the Sulby Glen. We just passed her pub. We've passed the Sulby Glen pub. We're steaming through the village, past the distillery, looking for the breaking point for the Sulby Bridge.
13.
Black ball 13. Poor old Johnny. Oh. There we go, through the bridge, up to the Ginger. Okay, this is still anybody's race.
White ball 57.
White ball, black ball 57.
White ball.
White ball 57. Steve, move forward, Steve. There we are. Okay. That puts Steve up level with Brett.
Black ball 17.
Black ball 7. Oh, this is a part of the course you'd expect Gates to be doing so well on because he knows it so well. It's where he lives, of course. And as we're running down now through Glenduff, thinking about coming into Glen Tramon.
White ball number 5.
White ball number 5. Okay. Steve's moving up. And
white ball 17.
White ball 17. Ian's still waiting patiently over there. Trying to decide whether he's going to go for 6 or 9.
Black ball 17.
Black ball. Oh,
17.
yes. Okay. And still anybody's race. There we go. Through Lazer. Oh yeah, Pinfold Cottage, Milltown. Okay, over the little jump. Past the beautiful Milltown restaurant.
Black ball.
Gardeners Lane.
Number 6 or number 9?
Number 6.
I can't tell.
Yeah. He's back to where
Black
he started
ball
from.
number 5.
Back, oh dear. Okay, we're going backwards as we come into Ramsey, Parliament Square. Tricky right-hander, throws it round the right, past Danny's Burgers. Don't stop for a burger. Full speed up towards the notorious Crookshanks. Careful here, boys. Accident black
17.
spot, and we're getting around. Great riding style from Johnny there. Up past
Black
Connor's
ball
house,
17.
into Connor's dad's house, into Whitegate's, Stella Maris, and it looks like there's going to be an issue.
Black ball number 6.
As we come through Stella Maris into the hairpin, sort of losing track. It looks like it's Steve in the lead at the moment. Black ball number 5. Okay, steaming out the hairpin on the mountain climb now for real. First right-hander waterworks.
Black ball number 6.
And here we go. That's it. Now this is a tricky corner, very sharp right-hander. Give yourself plenty of time in this one. We're successfully through that.
White ball number 13.
White ball 13. Whee! Flying off the stand. What a move. Higginbotham takes
Black
it as they
ball
come into the gooseneck.
number
This is still anybody's
57.
race. Another travelling marshal stop-off point. Yep, there's Kevin, of course, in there. Fantastic tea and coffee in that one. Climbing
White
up the
ball
mountain now.
57.
Watch these two left-handers, very fast left-handers. And,
Just a minute, I'll just change the weather. Black ball 57.
We have the visibility flag is coming out again. That means that's something. It's smoke. It's misty. It's getting misty on the mountain. It's getting very difficult to see where you're going, and it's nothing but black balls, I'm afraid. And as we wait now for John to get the next number out.
Black ball 17.
Black ball 17. So that's a backward move. This is getting critical now as we come towards the end of the lap, and we're coming into the black hut by the looks of things. And
black ball number 5.
Okay. Yeah.
Black ball number 13.
Okay. This is playing out in Steve Granger's advantage. The fog's disappeared. That means we're going to get some people starting to move forwards. And the mist is clearing. We've come through the... Yep. It looks like...
Black ball number 13.
It looks like it's a black ball for 13. John is out of fuel. Taking a quick look under the seat. He's looking for his sandwiches. And... okay, so
black
where are
ball
we?
57.
Okay, we're through the black hut. That's by the looks of things coming into the veranda. And we've got these 4 very tricky right-hand kinks to go. Yeah, and it's Gates has the lead just about, but still.
Black ball 57.
This is anybody's race. And it looks like Ian is currently running number... Pardon?
Black ball number 6.
No, number 6 is not. Is number 6 in the race? Okay, there's a flag being displayed now. It's a green, which means I think the white balls can come out again. We're through the Bungalow, reaching the highest point on the course up to the Brandywell, all downhill from here, of course. Another travelling marshal point. That's where Gillian would normally be. Another great place to
white
stop.
White ball number 6.
Fantastic hospitality in the Bungalow. And yes, Mcvitty is challenging for the lead. This could be a popular victory for Bike 6.
White ball 57.
White ball number 7.
57.
57. Okay. And there's only a few minutes of this race left now, and we're through Windy Corner. Full speed
white
down towards
17.
the 33rd.
White ball 57.
Okay, and this is going to be 3 abreast through the left-hand kinks of the 33rd milestone.
White ball number 5.
White ball number 5. Okay, Oates is back up there, look. Still, maybe John is a bit out of it, but this is still anybody's race.
White ball 13.
We're through the Keppel Gate. Okay, just a little bit of a sprint down to the Kate's Cottage. There we go, watch the little damp patch there as you lay into the left-hander. And see the Cregner Bar now. Up over the bump, wheel comes up, wheel goes down, there goes the champagne cork. And throwing it into the right-hander at Cregner Bar. Looks like everybody's staying upright, apart from Brett. Brett's giving it, oh yes.
White ball number 5.
Looks like we could have a bit of a domino effect here. Yep. Whatever you do, don't fall off. And we're through the Craig. It's neck and neck as we head down towards Brandish. The remodeled Brandish, now the sweeping left-hander of Brandish Corner. Brett's sticking his knees
white
out.
Ball number 6.
Trying to gain an advantage there. What was it? We're through Hilbury. Just a couple of miles to go on the course. It's going to be very, very close indeed. Slight advantage to Ian, but it's anybody's race. These next few are critical. We're through Cronknamona. Brett's laying it into there. Just the ultra sharp signpost corner. And we're coming to the signpost. Here we go. It's the left hand down. Look at the expression on Brett's face there.
White ball 57.
Oh yeah. Sweeping through Bedstead. Sweeping through Bedstead. I don't know who's going to get this one. And it's neck and neck between Granger and Mcvitty. Through
white ball 57.
White ball 57. Oh, Granger's taking it. Granger's has the advantage as they come into
White
the
ball,
Governor's Bridge
17.
dip. Right, steady boys now as you come out onto the Glencrutchery Road. This is it, it's the dash for the flag. This is going to take it or make it. Brett's tucked down behind the fairing. Ned's got the checkered flag ready, and we're going to go over the line.
White ball, number 5.
I'm not actually sure who won that. So Ian McVitie, bike 6, disqualified. It's the clerk of the course's decision. Steve Granger is the winner. Well done, Steve. He gets himself a can of Stella. In true travelling marshal tradition, the race finishes with a can of Stella. There we go. Right, 1 can of Stella between 5 travelling marshals. That's not going to work.
Cheers, everyone. That brings an end to the 2020 Manx Grand Prix. We hope to see you in person next year for the 2021 Manx Grand Prix in real life. There's a few thanks that need to be given. Roy Moore, upon whose the original idea of these races is based. We've got Vicky Cottier and Ben Quirk for hosting us here at their new Bungalow venue and supplying us these mighty Hondas. Thanks very much, guys. Martin Brunchweiler and Bushies for being our beer sponsor. We got John Watterson for conducting the interviews. Cheers, Watty. John Mcbride with his big bag of balls, and we got Luke and George on the cameras, and lastly, technical genius, without whom none of this would be possible. We got Rory Buchanan in the beanie. And Ned, of course, whose idea this was to host the night tonight. So cheers, Ned. If you want to subject yourself to another 7 hours, you can watch this again on the YouTube channel afterwards.